Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. Straight from the man cave, Kinnick Under the Kitchen. Randy Engel, a longtime supporter of the Hawkeyes and From the Hawkeye of the Storm, has created so much licensed, authentic, original Hawkeye artwork featuring so many of your favorite Hawkeyes, from Brad Banks to Reese Vanderzee, from Chuck Long to Caleb Johnson to Spencer Lee, and the list goes on and on. Be sure you check out the Under the Kitchen art stand each year at Fry Fest. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook and check out the entire selection of signed and unsigned prints available at underthekitchen.square.site. That's underthekitchen.square.site. Check out Under the Kitchen today and get your authentic, original Hawkeye print.
Be still, my darling. All is well, my darling.
Moth, come by.
Your anxious heart may well be so. Oh, it weighs you down deeper than you know. Yeah, it weighs you down deeper than you know.
Well, we are excited, as always, to be joined by none other than former Hawkeye defensive tackle Matt Kroul, who is a part of that great program that is a part of our show this year. Matt, welcome back to our Postgame show.
What's happening, Corey? How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. Would have been a little better with different outcome, obviously. But, yeah, we are here. We're here talking about it. I used to think that you were sort of good vibes for this show.
I know what happened.
Starting to wonder.
This one hurt, man. I'm angry. I don't know. I'm just angry. Just the whole USC vibe. I don't know. And it hurts when they post a stat, we're 80-5 or something or whatever. If we're up by 14 or some crazy thing. Playmakers make plays, and they were making plays, and we couldn't get the offense going in the second half. And here we are, man. Another one that really, really hurts, but a fun team to watch. But this one hurt for sure.
Yeah, it's just so hard to just figure this out. I hate to keep, crying in your soup, so to speak, because I always bring up 2008. You were part of that team. You guys lost 4 games by a total of 12 points. But, during the game tonight, I even tweeted this out. I'm almost starting to get more of the 2010 vibe. I believe the stat that I tweeted out was they lost 5 games by a total of 18 points that year.
Yeah.
Probably close. And I say that because your 2008 team, that felt like 2009 was going to be the year, with all due respect to the group of seniors in 2008. It felt like 2009, okay, we've hit our mark. And then 2010, it was sort of like 2016, where you have a bunch of guys returning and, highly regarded preseason. I don't know that you guys were real highly regarded in 08. You're coming off of a, average.
Yeah, probably weren't at all.
So it feels to me like we're starting to look more towards 2010, where they just kept finding ways to lose one-score games. They lost 5 one-score games that year, and they finished the year 8-5 with a win in the Insight Bowl. But I don't know where you start with this, Matt. And Coach Patterson will be joining the show here a little later. He's actually en route back to Iowa. He was over visiting his old Leathernecks in Macomb, Illinois today. But I got 2 pages of notes. I won't read every word, but kind of just give a brief recap here, and then we'll open up the phone line. And I guess the line is open. If people want to get in the queue, you can do that. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. The StreamYard link is in the description. So Iowa starts the game off, Matt, throwing some haymakers through the air. They go play action off Weegan to DJ Vanami for a first down. They followed that up with another deep shot, this time to Gill on a beautiful throw. Gill dances the sidelines to convert a first down. They go 3rd and 2, tush push. They go 4th and 1 out of a timeout, where they line up DJ Vanami in that spot that's normally occupied by Hayden Large on that tush push play. And of course they fake it. Tough throw on 4th and 1, dicey call, but it converts, and Iowa gets up 7-0 on a touchdown pass to Dayton Howard. Iowa then forces a 3-and-out. You get a shank punt by USC, and you're feeling good. Gronowski, underthrows Weegan on a deep shot, misses Gill on 3rd down. So they have to give the ball back to USC, but Iowa gets a 4th and 1 stop near midfield. And then 3rd down to Weegan. Iowa gets 3rd down to Phillips. No Weegan on that play due to his helmet flying off. Iowa gets a crucial pass interference call that continues that drive. They end up with another touchdown, this one on a tush push, following a nice run on 3rd and 5 by Jazz Patterson down to the USC 2. So at that point, Iowa's up 14-0, and you're feeling good.
Real good.
There for now, Matt. What was going right those first, that was early second quarter when they got up 14-0, I believe. What was going right the first 15 to 20 minutes?
Well, I think I guess Corey's been kind of harping on Mark not starting fast, and he started fast, put a beautiful, ball to Gill, and Gill stayed in bounds and, almost scored in that play. So starting fast, accurate, and then we were just kind of manhandled the line of scrimmage. I mean, early the whole time, and he had time to throw. And you watch some of those. I mean, they were just kicking the snock at a number 8, I think. I don't know if he even played the second half because we were just running right over him, their D tackle. All those things were going well, and their playmakers weren't making plays yet, and our defense was doing what they needed to do. And we get up 14 points. we're all feeling pretty good. I've got a lot of notes from the first half, but my second half notes aren't that much just because when we're positive, we're rolling. You take a lot of fun notes, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, just control and we loosened up obviously with Leicester. I mean, I think we passed 6 out of the 7 plays or something the first 6-7 plays, and then only ran twice, and then we kind of went into Iowa mode and started running inside zone, and it was working 4 or 5 yards at a time, and yeah, just everything was kind of clicking.
They take too long to go back to the throw game, in your opinion? When they were kind of struggling between second and third quarters, did they take too long to go back with what worked in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, with Moulton, I mean, he was getting 5-6 yards. I mean, he's a slick runner, and he was making it happen. So I don't think so. Not the way we're controlling line of scrimmage. And the thing about it, that second half, not to get too deep into the game, but our D-backs were in position every time. Like the hands were on that ball, and those dudes were just they're good players, and they were coming down with the ball. And I just wanted them to drop one to help us out, and they weren't dropping them second half. So
we'll come back to my notes, your notes. We kind of paused there at 14-0 Iowa, but I just want to skip to the end for a second. Does it not just feel like Iowa has gotten every bad bounce, every bad call, every margin that could go their way has gone the opposite way? You brought up these freakish plays, and look, Mekhi Lemon's amazing. Jacoby Lane's really good. Yeah. Dante Moore's really good. Maiyava's really good. Like, they've gone up against good playmakers, but we're talking pouring rain these last 2 weeks, and you would never know. Like, I didn't see USC's passing game affected at all today. I don't understand how that's possible. Okay, and I know Mekhi Lemon is a finalist for the Maxwell Award. Only he and Jeremiah Smith occupy that finalist list as receivers. They're the only 2 receivers in the country. So he is ridiculous. But they refused to drop anything. If the ball was vaguely in their vicinity, they made a play on the ball. And we can get to officiating as well. It felt like the officiating, and I'm not one to go on here and whine about officials. But I tell you, for people who are frustrated, and I'm not going to claim the game was rigged, but I see people on social media who make that type of a comment. I didn't like this comment. This was fourth quarter. The flag that was picked up on the Caden Weegan late hit, it's clearly a late hit. He's clearly out of bounds. The problem with that call is, you threw the flag, then picked it up. And your explanation on the field is that it was determined it was a legal hit. So
yeah, that's the wrong explanation.
You screwed the pooch somewhere. All right. Yeah. Either you screwed the pooch inbounds or out of bounds, because either you believe that it wasn't enough of a hit, or it's a hit. It's a late hit, because he's clearly
you can't say it's a hit if it's out of bounds. Yeah.
They admitted that it was a hit. They admitted the hit in the call, only to say it was a legal hit. I've never heard of a legal hit out of bounds.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. But one of the Big Ten Network commentators and I thought that was actually a well-called game from those guys. But this kind of rubbed me the wrong way. After they picked that flag up, the commentator agreed, and I'm not saying
I like that call. Yeah, I like that call. He said
call, and he said there's too much at stake.
Yeah, exactly. There is.
What the crap does that mean?
For Iowa's offense, there's a lot at stake. So, yeah.
No, what that says to me, Matt, is what's the implication? He's not talking about Iowa's offense. He's talking about the playoff, okay? And anybody with a general sense of brains recognizes that USC has a legitimate shot at the playoff and Iowa does not. So, again, maybe that's tongue-in-cheek, or maybe that's a Freudian slip, but it almost implied to me that you can't make that call because USC needs to win this game for the Big Ten's hopes. I'm not saying I'm not saying that that's what it was. I'm just saying that play with the picking up of the flag and then that comment just really rubbed me the wrong way.
And I don't like that we didn't. I mean, what was the? I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later. But what coach was it called on for the sideline infraction? Like even that. I mean, a lot of things we got to make it Hail Mary at the end to win the game, but still to just completely take it out of our hands because some grown man probably said something to the ref, like, give me a break. Like, don't throw that flag unless they're like pulling on his arm or like physically assaulting the ref. Like, you don't throw that flag the last minute, whatever, 32 seconds are left. And then I don't want to go down the ref, but then you miss a face mask and the next play it bounces off our knee, and that's or whatever, the player's hand, and it's picked off, and they're on the 25 or 20. It's just, you can't miss those calls, and you can't pick up that flag if you watch that play on the sideline, he stopped, Weege went out of bounds, and he took 3 more steps and knocked him. Yeah, was it malicious? No, but it's still the rule.
It was a clear hit.
Anyway, those are a few big things that happened. I mean, that's why I got on this thing, and I'm like, man, I'm just frustrated and like angry just with the whole thing. But
everything. And every game, we said this last week, every game, like in this case, Iowa was up a little bit more earlier in the game. But against that USC offense, it's really not any more than when they were up against Iowa State late or against Oregon late, because that USC offense, especially at home, I know it's raining. I mean, they can go down the field in a snap of the finger. I think what's disturbing is the stat that we showed at the outset and Big Ten Network highlighted on the broadcast, 26-7 to end the game, and a scoreless second half for Iowa after they were rolling in the first half. They were on pace to score 42. They scored nothing in the second half against a USC defense, which, I mean, I ran the numbers here earlier in the week. USC's defense as a whole, total defense 48th in the country, pass defense 51st, rush defense 60th. That's crap. That's below average. I think you got to look both sides of the ball straight in the eyes, because the defense deserves blame for really just not being able to figure out a way to stop Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they're not giving the defense any help because really got nothing. Nothing after that early 21-7 start. I mean, again, 26-7 to end the game by the Trojans.
I mean, we knew what their offense was, and to be ahead by that was fortunate. But we knew they were going to make a run, and they made it. And we need one, 2, 3 plays on offense to go our way, and not go our way, but just a couple sustained drives with some points, a field goal, a couple field goals, and we just didn't get it. So, yeah, that's tough. It's tough to ask our D to stop an offense like that for the entire game. Yeah, do we want to give up that many without scoring? No, but that's a tough assignment, and like I said, they were making plays, and here we are, man, another loss by less than a touchdown. So
so Jackson's in the chat. He says that was a catch. Again, margins, but I do want to show you a screenshot.
You have it? Yeah, right. It wasn't reviewed either.
Oh, it was reviewed. It was reviewed.
It?
Yes, they went into the 2-minute warning, and they did review it during the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, look at that.
But I mean, that looks to be a catch, does it not?
To me, and they're going to say this whole toe landed out of bounds, but I mean, his
toe landed out of bounds. His toe's in bounds.
No, I know his little, like, who's going to call his little toe to his big? It's like, did you see the Oregon play with that called touchdown
today?
I think it might have been today or sometime. I just saw the clip. Same thing. I mean, the dudes, they called it a touchdown. Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow too, right there, dude. Don't show me that anymore. I'm just
get that off the screen.
Oh man.
The crazy thing about it is, it's ruled a catch. They're inside the 10. With an opportunity to maybe run more clock, because they're probably going back to the ground game.
Yeah.
And a touchdown could potentially win the game. I mean, it's just there's just so many things.
This is the woulda, shoulda, coulda season, and we started whispering that last week and the week before, and man, it's just I'm on a thread with some old teammates, man, and we're just we're fans, and it's just depressing to a certain extent. And I mean, these are, like I said, like in the beginning of this podcast, they're a fun group to watch. And the offense is rolling, especially. They're an awesome group to watch, and I love watching number 6. Man, he makes a lot of plays, and he's got some closing speed to him too. So, and Wamkes was hitting again, and it's just Graves was playing well in the middle, and our guys were making plays, and yeah, just tough one to swallow. So yeah, don't show me that clip again of his foot being in, because I'll probably rip the computer off the table.
Yeah.
I agree with Reddick that ugh. It's just an ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Big Grove Brewery, folks, the official watch party headquarters of the Hawks. In spite of the loss, they're going to continue to open their place up for the watch experience with their Easy Eddies, their neighborhood beers, their Citrus Surfer. It's all great. BigGrove.com. You can visit any of their convenient locations in Iowa City, Des Moines, Solon, Cedar Rapids, now Omaha, Nebraska open. We will be stopping by the Omaha store here very soon. So anyways, more information on that coming, but visit BigGrove.com and check out all the locations, see what they have on the menu. Great food as well at Big Grove Brewery. Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Got a bunch of people who are wanting to chat. Understandably so. I'm guessing Matt will have to play therapist for a while. Let's get Alex in to the show. Alex, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you calling our Iowa Smokehouse line.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys this evening?
Good, Alex.
All things considered. Matt, I got a question.
Why do you guys ask that question? I mean, I know it's just
common courtesy.
Question. I know.
Common courtesy.
All right.
Mom and dad raised me right. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir.
I get it.
Matt, I do have a question for you. When you were on the defensive lineman, when you felt like maybe the offensive line was getting a little handsy, did you ever go up and talk to the ref, say, hey, my jersey was an XL, it's a double XL because he's been tugging at it the entire game? Do you ever talk to the refs during the game, kind of like, hey, you might want to watch out for this?
I left that to Mitch. Mitch did all the talking, man. King was he wasn't complaining, but he would say some stuff. But no. I mean, we were coached. It's your fault if you're getting held. You know what I mean? They're going to see it. You've got to force the ref to see it. And if you're not doing that as a D lineman, you're not doing your job. So no, to answer your question, I never really talk to the ref.
Aaron Graves' his jersey is 2 times as big because, I mean, we talked about missed calls. I counted at least 6 blatant misholds, and I actually had them all written down of when it happened. And you could see that jersey going like this, and it's just like how you guys missed that call. And you talked about the announcing crew. Hold on, I'll get to the other hold. About the one that was on Lutmer got held, and the announcer's like, "Oh, that was kind of ticky-tack. He sold that one." Yeah, because you brought up about the whole late hit out of bounds, which should have been called. So yeah,
isn't it hard? Can I just ask this question? Isn't it actually wouldn't it legitimately be hard? Because I believe those officials are employees of the Big Ten Conference, correct? Do we know that for certain? Are they technically employed by the Big Ten Conference?
I think it's technically they're not NFL refs where that's like their sole job. I think they have other jobs outside of.
Okay, but my question is, wouldn't it be hard if you're employed by the Big Ten Conference in a game like this to not show some degrees of favoritism? I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but if and I mean, who knows what their bosses are saying to them? Clearly, a win by Iowa hurts the Big Ten. it just does. They win today, it hurts the league as a whole. It just does.
So Corey's saying the Big Ten refs offer paid. Okay, I'm tweeting that.
No, I'm just saying I don't know what it is. I'm not saying whether I'm not implying there was pay behind beneath the table. I'm just saying I understand.
There's like subconscious bias in some way.
I don't know, man. I hear the commentators. You were just talking about the call against Lutmer, and I'm glad you brought that up because Matt, you were an interior guy on the defensive line. So I'm guessing you pay a little bit more attention to what's going on between the, in the trenches as opposed to just watching the ball, maybe like the average fan does. So what did you see? I mean, is Alex exaggerating when he talks about 6 missed hold calls? Because we always hear, well, there's missed holding on every play, but then there's missed holding, and we saw several tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Graves does a great job with his arm over. Like he's got, I mean, you could tell he was a wrestler. I mean, he did both wrestling and basketball, but wait, his little hand check and then his quick arm over. And I mean, this is every play in football. I mean, they could call holding probably every play. Now they got to call the blatant holds. Graves probably could get a few more just because that move that he does is so effective. But yeah, I mean, there was a couple. I saw the couple on edge even. I think with Hackett or some on the edge, there was a couple of them, but they could call it every play. And that one was a hold on Lutmer. I mean, that wasn't a tic-tacky call that he was out there in space trying to make the tackle. So, and they're going to call those holds that are closer to the ball too. You know what I mean? I mean, they're not going to call some of these in the interior line, if they're not close to the ball, they're not going to call those. They could call some every play if they wanted to. So I love how the announcers jinx us too, and we haven't had a holding call in all season. We're the only O-line in the country, I think, that didn't have a assessed holding call, and then all of a sudden our boy Jennings gets one. And I don't know if even that was one, to be honest. He had his hand on his breastplate on his shoulder, and that was a close one too. So yeah, we could. I'm a D lineman, so yeah, I could harp on O linemen all the time, and they're cheating every play, but the refs are only going to call those ones that are blatant. So,
Well, I just think with, and you guys brought it up at the start of the show, the 2 missed face mask calls. It just makes, and I don't know if you guys follow baseball. I don't follow it too much. There's after every game, the home plate umpire is assessed a grade where your strike zone was at, where you called a strike, that was a ball, you called a ball, that was a strike, and they give you a grading. I like this. I don't know if college does that with refs, but I would really like to see a grading for these refs, because it felt like it just, I've seen people through the game say, "Oh, Iowa needs a pass rush." Well, it's kind of hard when, Graves is, specifically Graves, 3 times at least I counted where, he was getting to the quarterback, but, he's getting held up by the offensive lineman. And you guys talked about balls not going Iowa's way. Well, this season, Iowa has forced 7 fumbles. They've only recovered 1 of them. I mean, today they forced a fumble, and Lemon was just happy in the right place at the right time, picked it up and kept it USC's ball. Just imagine if, a couple of those goes Iowa's way. I think Oregon or Indiana had 2 of them. Had 2 fumbles, and Iowa didn't recover any of them.
Well, what's ironic about the fumble tonight, Alex, is a clear fumble, and the ball happens to bounce right into the arms of the guy with the best hands, maybe in the conference. like Lemon is just right there, come to Papa. It was really, yeah, I agree. That's what I say when I talk about bad bounces and bad. It's everything. It's everything for the deflection, the interception. How does that happen? The ball bounces.
That's happened 3 times this year.
Back. And, oh, by the way, then you have it happen with Iowa, right? Vanderzee, it looks like it deflects into the arms of Xavier Williams on 3rd down, but they review it, and, of course, it hit the ground. But on the other side of it, the ball bounces.
Iowa State.
Defensive lineman. And then you have the Iowa State. Yeah, we've talked about all of these. You have the Iowa State deflection that happens to go down the field into the outstretched arms of the best tight end on the field. I mean, it really is uncanny. And I heard somebody after the game, again on social media, made the comment that, I'd really like to say that this is a good team because they seem so close, but don't good teams win close games? And I'll throw this one to you, Matt. 2008, you guys figured it out down the stretch, but you also lost quite a few close games. Is that true, or is it more complicated than that?
I don't think it's overly complicated. I mean, good teams win these games, and that's when you have special seasons, when you win plays that you have to, and you win these games. And that's this is still a good team. And yeah, as Iowa fans, we can be like, we're 8-4, all this, where we can end, but big teams win, and big players make big plays, and all those cliche sayings. But I don't know. It's one of those, I don't know if it's obviously not the year that we wanted, and so far was just a tough one. And I don't know how to answer your question, Corey. Really, it's just one of those deals where it's just football, man. You lose these close games more often than not. With Iowa's defense, we pull these out, or we get a last-second field goal, and these 3-4 games, just the ball just hasn't bounced our way, and we can sit here and make excuses, but let's be ahead by more, not be in these positions to but glass half full. It is exciting to see we have a QB that can lead us down the field these last couple games and put us in position. If Weegan comes down with that ball, we're in a position to win the game. And we're in, just like last game, we're in position to do it. Indiana, if he was in, I'm sure he would have gave us a position to win that game. So that's exciting. I mean, I'm always going to be a positive dude, and I'm just hurt over these losses, everyone else, but glass half full, we got a QB and an offense at times that can lead us down the field to put us in position to win. And we're just, we're just not quite there
Hey,
quite there to do it, man.
you
And
brought
maybe
it
we
up.
were. Maybe
You
we
brought
were.
it up.
Corey wants to see something thrown across the screen.
I mean, he brought it up this time. He brought up the Weegan catch. I mean, how does what's his face for Indiana manage to get his feet in on that
Omar Cooper
play? Omar Cooper against Penn State in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Weegan is pushed here, but it's just like the Kamari Moulton play on the 2-point conversion last week. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, it's
inches, man. Inches.
Over and over and over again. That's why when you said earlier, Matt, well, typically more times than not, Iowa wins those close games. I get what you're saying, and you're right. But my response to that is, why does it seem like
why this year
rains at poise?
Yeah. Why does it go completely opposite? Yeah.
This entire year has, with the exception being Penn State, but Penn State of the teams that I lost to is the worst team there. Surprisingly enough, they're the worst team of those four, I'd say, right there with Iowa State. So I just it is hard to explain.
Matt, how do you, since you've been in the program, how do you, with a game like this and a game like even against Oregon and Indiana, where you're so close to a win and you just don't, and and I came on here last week, I said Iowa has a very slim chance at the playoffs. They even mentioned on the broadcast a lot of things had to go right, a lot of chaos. They even said that chaos had to happen for it to happen. Now that's completely gone. Maybe Iowa players thought like, hey, if we just take care of business, we give ourselves the best chance. Obviously, you got to win the games. But now, how do you, as a player, like try to just, okay, we got 3 games left, the 2 regular seasons plus a bowl game. What's the mentality? Like, how do you guys like just say, okay, hey, next week it's Michigan State at home? Like, how do you overcome that?
I mean, we're all competitors, right? I mean, these dudes have been playing football since they're probably 4th, 5th grade, and that's just especially a senior, it's going to be your last couple of games. Like, that's just leadership. That's everything. And that's always been Iowa program, is these leaders stepping up and doing what they need to do. And some of the stats, 134 career starts for this O-line. Like, they're not going to throw the towel in the last couple, 2 or 3, they're going to do everything they can to win a game and prepare during the week and do what they need to do to recover and get there. And we had that whole thing, we can't travel West Coast. Well, we came out hot and we're firing and we played well on the West Coast. So, this team has good leaders and they'll be just fine. But I said that last week too, losing a tough one and we put our best foot forward tonight and just came up a little short. But I mean, we're all competitors. Everyone wants to compete, and they're not going to want to end, that's the rest of your life. You got to talk about how you end your senior season. So, you don't want to be on a negative note.
No, and a couple more things on the offense. It was reported that Jennings Dunker, Caden Pieper, and I can't remember, Bo Stevens went out of this game, so Iowa had a couple backups in there, so I don't think that helped. And then on that one kind of busted play where I think TJ Hall got a PI, he went out of the game too, and I don't think he ever returned. So I know injuries did not help. You guys mentioned at the start of the show where you asked Matt, did Iowa go away from the pass too soon? And I was in the chat. I don't know, Corey, if you saw me, I was nodding my head because it looked like they had some good success throwing the ball. Obviously, it's, but then they went kind of that typical run pass, that typical Iowa style. And then when they had to throw, it was kind of predictable at that point because USC thought, hey, we're going to put 8 guys in the box. We're going to dare you to pass. And Iowa did. And we were very successful. I thought we should have kept going throughout the game. So, and with the defense, I mean, you got to look at, it's kind of like Oregon last week. They got some dudes. I mean, Lemon is 1st round pick, maybe 2nd round, high 2nd round. Dude's a baller. And then can't think of the other guy. Lane, I think, is his last name. Another guy. I don't know what he's going to be looking like in the draft, maybe 3rd, 4th round. But, I mean, you're going against NFL caliber wide receivers. And Iowa's secondary is not as good as it has been. It's still a pretty good unit, but nowhere near to the level as it was. So,
yeah, I agree with all of that. And I don't know that we've brought this up yet, but our Big Rove's big play of the day, you guys, you had to pass back to Mark Gronowski. Caden Weegan to Reese Vanderzee to Mark Gronowski for the 5-yard touchdown reception with a little over 3 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. Did you? And I saw Barbara mention it in the chat. Did you guys notice that Kirk was about to cry after that he made that play? Now
I saw it on the replay. He was kind of like,
I laugh only because my mind goes to, is he like just so like, is he
so elated? He's so elated and emotional that I mean, this has always been him. It's usually just in a locker room, but yeah, those first couple of scores, even at both touchdowns, that emotion on his face. Like we've all seen it as players in the locker room, and I'll be open about that. And we'd see it in highlight clips from the locker room after a big win. But yeah, it was almost coming out on the field a couple of times in the first half, and it's like,
he had that little smirk. He kind of had that little smirk on his face where he's trying not to smile, but the corner of his mouth goes up because he's happy that they scored.
Why do you suppose that is, Matt? Why would he have been getting so emotional over 2 touchdowns in the first half? Because the people that want to rip on Kirk will just say, well, he's thinking about finally
he's losing his edge or something, No, not at all. I think to go up 14-0 versus USC in the Coliseum on the West Coast in a number 17, number 21 matchup, that's just a dude. to me, I played for him, but that's just a dude that still cares immensely. And for games like, get up 14-0, I mean, he knows the way our defense plays. I don't know what he's thinking in the moment, but to get up 14-0 versus these guys, to come out that hot, reverse an offense that, was top 5, top 10 in pretty much every category, is a big deal. So
I think maybe he's proud that he's like, hey, the team's playing well, kind of things. Like, all right.
No, that's just pure emotion from him.
One more question, Corey, then I'll jump off. I know Iowa Wrestling is doing the national duels right now. Are you guys going to have a show after the final duel, or
I believe we got a show coming up tomorrow night. Yeah,
perfect.
So I believe things will wrap up. I don't know what time, but yeah. I haven't even checked in since I know they destroyed Missouri. What's the latest?
I think they've secured a win against Illinois.
Okay.
Patrick Kennedy really he just wants he tries to lose some matches, I think, but I think they secured a win. It wasn't a very like thumping win, but I think they did secure a win.
Well, I'm guessing they're resting some people, right? Like they're not some of these, like they didn't play Keeter. They didn't wrestle Keeter.
No, he was the guy I follow on X, who posts a lot about women's wrestling as well. Said Keeter was still in the street clothes, so it's going to be the backup to that.
Yep.
I know Angelo was wrestling, I think, when at the time we jumped on. I don't know how he did though.
Okay.
So
we'll have some coverage this weekend, Alex.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, sir. Always enjoy chatting with you.
Yep. Have a good night.
Big Rose big play of the day. The Caden Weegan to Reese Vanderzee to Mark Gronowski 5-yard touchdown reception with 3:24 to go in the second quarter. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough as Iowa falls to the Trojans 26-21 down the stretch, giving up 26 of the final 33 points scored. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse line. We have got Vincent here. Vincent, welcome.
Yeah, to ask you guys how you're doing, I kind of know. I can see Matt's frustration on his face, so I won't even delve into that one. But anyhow, I guess the most frustrating part for me on this one, and obviously watched Indiana and Oregon, but I think here's the painful part. I think Lester's second half play calling, we went too much into trying to get maybe a little fancy on offensive play calling instead of just sticking with what we know. And a lot of the commentators, I watched Joel Klatt and some others talking about if Iowa can just stick to the run and, keep the ball out of USC's hands offensively, it's going to bode well for them. And we just didn't do it in the second half. I just want to get your take on that. I think Matt touched on it earlier. We were getting 5-6 yards a carry, but yet in the second half, we just seemed to go away from that. What did you see?
I think the biggest, the biggest problem collectively, and I got to go back and watch. I hate to even have to do that, but especially as you got to that third quarter, because they went on their run from early second quarter on, but we were feeling pretty good at 21-10, right?
Yeah, we were.
And so I would say the biggest issue was the fact that defense just couldn't get off the field. And you can talk about bending all you want, but against that team, you can't give up so many chunk plays. And they just continue to give up chunk play after chunk play after chunk play to Lane. What Lemon finished with, like
153 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean he's phenomenal. He might be the best receiver in college football, not named Jeremiah Smith. In fact, he's right there with Jeremiah Smith.
Absolutely. That catch he had. Did you see he had one over the middle? I think it was, mid second quarter or mid third quarter, but Wampa turned him upside down on that catch.
Didn't matter.
And still caught that ball. But I've been watching him all season. He's a dog. Makai Lemon, he's a dog. But to kind of get back to, I watched Joel Klatt and Joshua Payton. They're both saying the same thing. And things were going according to script, at least to start. We're up 21-7. And once you get to that point, you want to make sure you do more ball control, running the football. I just thought we got away from that. We didn't do it. And Matt can probably chime in too. But when you're getting, 4 to 6 yards a carry and you're controlling the clock, controlling possession, we just didn't do that enough in the second half. And it really came back to bite us in the ass because we got outscored 26-7.
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up real quick, and then Matt, if you have something to comment on that, what did you guys? I know all the attention is focused on the Caden Weegan catch that was for naught, but what did you think about them going 3 runs up the middle on that series right before that 4th and 6 play where they go deep to Weegan? They go run with Patterson, run with Xavier Williams. I thought Tim Lester called a brilliant first half.
Yes,
beautiful call for Caden Weegan that got him that big chunk yardage to get them in a position there in plus territory late. But I just thought that was a very odd series to go run there.
I just think there's always still more opportunity to get a mark on the edge.
Yes.
Some crossers, and we were trying to get Vandermeer. He was involved in the game, which was good. But I think second half, we could have went back to that a little bit more. And I think, that's we hate them when they don't work the 3 runs up the middle, and we love it when they grind them out to get 12, in 3 plays. But that didn't happen. I just with Mark's legs, like I just want him on the edge a little bit more. Even with USC's athletes, like I don't think it matters. Either you can dump it off to one of these tight ends, or run for 3 or 4, and then we cut that distance in half. So I feel like there's more opportunity for that. So,
well, even on the edge, I mean, here's what I'm thinking is when we have the ball with what seems to look like the last possession of the game. You got 4 minutes left. I'm thinking to myself, you want to run the ball, but let's also not only use our tailbacks, but use Mark's legs as well. He's so he always usually has positive yards. So, and we had instances throughout the game where Lester's calling, he spreads everybody out. You have just a 5-man line, and then Mark can kind of pick his lane up the middle. I wish we'd have done that in that last 3 minutes versus just kind of running a more 12 personnel or 11 personnel, spread it out, not only run the clock, but gain positive yardage. That's what I would have liked to have seen and thought we were going to do, but we just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they got to get Mark going on the ground again. I don't know. Is that
he's so good.
Yeah, Matt, you've seen, I know they had that 1 3rd down that he got stuffed on, but our team's just figuring out ways to make it harder on him to find space. What are you seeing?
I think they're playing more responsibility football, which a lot of teams aren't disciplined enough like us to, X out who's got the QB, who's got the running back. And you could see some of those breakdowns on TV. Those DNs were pretty much spying on him a little bit. So some of those zone reads, I think they're getting us. That's what I'm saying. If it's a play action rollout or something to get him in space and get him on the edge that he can scramble for 5 or 6 yards up the sideline. But I think you're onto something, Corey, with some teams, playing more responsible football on the edge with those DNs and some of our, zone read schemes that we do. It's he almost picks his spots too much. A couple of those QB runs up the middle, like he's so patient, it almost drives me nuts. Like I want him to get going. First, I don't want him to get hit hard. but he just
Right.
sometimes he's just like picking his spot, which he still gets 4 or 5 yards, which more power to him. But I feel like he's just standing still sometimes, waiting for that hole, and it's driving me nuts. But yeah, I agree. I think those last series calls are always going to be scrutinized, and which way we should go, as fans, we don't know. But I think get him on the edge and get him in space and let him dump it off to a tight end here or there, or scramble for 5 or 6, I think would have helped us. But that's why I'm not no coordinator, Corey. I was just a dumb D lineman, so I don't know.
Did you ever? I mean, I know we're going to get into the farming thing here in a minute, but did you ever consider coaching post career?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if the family farm wasn't there, that'd probably be something that I would have pursued, and was under a lot of good coaches in the D-line world with Coach Aiken for the longest time, Coach K, and then obviously Rex. And then in the NFL level, he was a D-line coach his beginning, and then went D coordinator, and then obviously head coach for us. But so a lot of guys with a lot of different insight and technique, and I was a big technique guy, right? Like I wasn't the jump off the sheet athletically at anybody, but if I could do proper technique, and that's mostly what coaching is teaching these D linemen work with your hands and footwork and things like that. So yeah, I definitely would have considered, I think, if farming wasn't there, the family farm wasn't there. I just coach 3rd and 4th grade flag football now, so it's exciting stuff.
If I can add, you guys might have touched on this, not to get or go in a different direction, but I know we got that unsportsmanlike at the end of the game with,
Yep.
I guess, an assistant coach. Do we know what or who that was?
No idea.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that will be something that is asked of Kirk Ferentz.
Oh, are you going to have Tom or Kakert on later, do you think? Or
That's a good question. I've not heard from Tom.
okay.
So, and I don't even know that Tom. We've just been on different paths this week. I don't know that Tom
Gotcha.
made it
Okay.
out to LA.
Okay. Well, I won't keep you guys. Matt, as always, just thanks for taking the time for us fans, and Corey, thanks for having the platform. I'll just kind of listen and see what other callers have to say.
Okay, Vince. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. All right. Yeah. Before we move on, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more from Matt Kroul as we continue to talk about USC's 26-21 victory over the Hawkeyes. Unfortunately, out at the LA Coliseum tonight on this 15th day of November. So more with myself, Matt Kroul. We'll be back in a moment.
Over the past year, we traveled the country visiting American farms, and something great came of it. All because Reagan and Massey gave farmers a platform to share the history, the business, and the people that together have created their farm's identity. This project has uncovered the reality of what many farms in the country have to go through, and it's been long overdue. With our country losing an average of 28,000 farms a year, what better of a time to tell the stories than now? So we'd like to thank you for joining us on our travels and inviting these farmers into your living room, just as they have done for us.
Farm of America, what a great docu-series to it tied you up this winter. Plenty of nights, I'm sure, where you'll be cooped up in front of the television. So that's why we have Matt Kroul. Matt and his family farm are featured on Reagan and Massey's a show called Farms of America, as you just previewed. Matt, we've been talking about this show. This is a great documentary over the last few weeks. I would like to know from your point of view, what makes this show different from every other television show on TV? I'm kind of throwing you a curveball.
Yeah, no,
it makes this more real and more authentic and more interesting to Hawkeye fans.
Well, I think like any docuseries, this one's just portraying it in a positive light, like I've said a couple of times. And I think it's just what this state's all about, right? Any Midwest state, that's the foundation of who we are is agriculture. And, I think it affects 1 in 5 people or 1 in 4 people in this state is intertwined in ag in some way, if that's a co-op or that's some ag sales or that's equipment sales. So I think it's good for people to kind of reimmerse themselves in, not only our farm, but farms nationwide too. So I think it's just one of those deals that we hear all the time. We open our place up, agritourism, if you want to call it that, majority of the year. But we hear it all the time. I remember on grandma's place, or I remember on grandpa's farm, I used to do this, used to do that. So, and that's becoming less and less, right? We get more disconnected from our family farms, and we're losing family farms every year. So I think it's, this show is just putting us in a positive light to kind of show people, farmers are still the backbone of this state especially, but in the nation as well. So, all those things that we wear, or we drive or we eat, that's all started with someone that, is working with their hands and doing the best they can to try and take ag into the future. So yeah, it's a good show. I'm excited for the second season too.
How farms started, how they thrive today, what the future holds, and you're going to get a glimpse at farms not just in the Iowa Midwest, but cranberry farms in Massachusetts, crawfish farming in Louisiana, oyster farming out on the West Coast, really the full spectrum of American farming. Each episode dives into a different backstory of how each farm got started, how it operates on a day-to-day basis, and about the conversations of who will take over next. And what's the background, the history of you learned this by watching episode 1 of season 1, but what is the background, the history of Kroul Farms?
So Kroul Farm started, the family name was Wolf. So my grandma's maiden name was Wolf. They were all doctors and lawyers in the town nearby, and they kind of bought some land outside of town of Mount Vernon. And then my grandpa Howard married Elizabeth Kroul, 1946, I think. I might be messing that date up, but it's been in the Kroul name since then. But we've been on that same land since the mid 1860s, if you date back to the Wolf family. So I'm the 3rd generation now, farming in the Kroul name. So yeah, it's kind of our history, and we're a normal hog, cattle, row crop operation. And then the farm crisis of the 80s kind of pushed my dad into purchasing the farm from his dad, and then just diversified into what we do today. So pumpkin, sweet corn, produce, still got the cattle, still do row crop. We sell firewood year round. We sell flowers, annuals, and perennials. So we've tried to, diversify in such a way that we can still be vibrant and be, hopefully sustained into the future financially too. So that's kind of our story. It's been in the family for a long, long time. And, each generation that comes on board, try and make it better and then keep that entrepreneurial spirit to just keep adapting to challenges. And, when money's tight or these commodity prices are down, hopefully we can, as our farm, we can kind of put some more energy into the different businesses that we have. So
have you ever wondered how a modern farmer makes his money, makes his living, makes his family's ends meet? No better way than to tune into Farms of America, brought to you by Reagan and Massey's RM43 Serious Weed Control. You can check out the series. Season 1 is up on Reagan and Massey's YouTube channel. It's totally free. The link is in our description, so check it out. That is why Matt Kroul is with us, and we have certainly enjoyed chatting with you over the last few weeks. We'll enjoy these couple of games in front of us, even though the stakes have changed to some extent. So, all right, let's go back to we've got a couple of super chats that I don't want to forget. Lomansky, thank you for this, Lomansky. Lomansky with the super chat. He says, understanding the skill level of USC, begging our offense in the second half to pass more and feel like we beat ourselves. It hurts and it sucks. ANF. America needs farmers. So Lomansky's always got some wisdom, some emotion, all enveloped into one comment. So we appreciate that. Lomansky, he also adds with a different super chat, given to Swarm, ? If not, don't watch sports. So have you given to Swarm? So he's encouraging donations to the Swarm. So what are your thoughts on the collective?
Oh gosh, loaded question.
Hey, Lomansky brought it up, and I don't think you never really talked about NIL that extensively.
No, I think it's a good thing. Obviously we talked about does it needs to be controlled to a certain extent. And yeah, are we going to have the financial backing of some of these schools like Texas A&M and things like that? But no. But at the same time, we're going to go out and compete, and it's fun to look at Iowa athletics as a whole, man. I mean, I've followed women's basketball now more so than I ever would have thought. Always follow wrestling, track and field's always up there, field hockey. Volleyball starting to make a push. I think is some of these things that I follow, and overall, Iowa athletics is a cool thing to watch, and being where we are, University of Iowa, there's no other pro teams per se, so to have the Iowa fan base, try and support it and to feel like they're part of it, I think that's a cool thing. And I think, this NIL deal, these athletes, deserve some sort of cut. And I think we're starting to get to that way. Now we can get in a whole conversation of transferring and, do these kids need to sign 2-year contracts per se to stay at certain universities? Maybe, but how do we control it and not become another professional sport? I don't know. But I think it's good. It's a good thing. I haven't given to the Swarm that much though. So have you?
No.
Yeah.
So here's I'll just being honest. Now I've had myself some of their, now I can't even, I guess they're just their Swarm beer is what it's called. But we've had Brad Heinrichs of the Swarm on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against, I think the collective is obviously in the best interest of Iowa. I'm not doubting that. I think we can all agree that the way it was set up initially, not just this collective, but just NIL, the structure or lack thereof in the first place, it was never going to be able to keep up with the powers. And so, the hope now that we're into revenue sharing, I don't really know the trickle-down effect that it's had across the country with NIL. There's supposed to be more structure on these deals, more regulations on who can get paid what, for what. But, yeah, I mean, you hear less about the Swarm now, but it's still a factor. But we'll just have to see how this changes. I mean, it's been a few months since revenue sharing began. Yeah, we haven't seen a transfer portal window with it either.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's a lot of things to get figured out.
Lemansky super chat. Thanks, Corey. What's at stake? Comment. A biased comment by the broadcast team. Yeah, that's what kind of how I felt at the time. I just thought it was an odd comment to make. But, hey, that's just like sometimes I say stupid stuff on this show, and those guys have exponentially more people watching them, bigger stage. So I have some forgiveness for live television. CW, you're not going to like this, Matt, but I'm going to read it because it's super chat. 0-13 against ranked teams since 21. Kirk Ferentz, retire, please. Actually, that's really not that harsh of a comment. He's not saying fire Kirk. He's begging Kirk to retire. So, I heard some people. I see CJ here in the chat. He says, it might be hard for y'all, but it's time to have a conversation about the future. So I'd like to know what that means. And we have these conversations every year. But what does that comment mean? Are you saying that we should start having conversations about firing the 27-year tenured head coach? Are you saying you think this is the end of the road for Kirk? He's going to drift off into the sunset? Like, I don't know. I'm not in that mode right now, folks. Like, my mode right now is they've lost 4 ridiculously close games. They're really close. I can't begin. This is going to be a different team next year, different quarterback. They're going to be missing some playmakers. They've got some defensive, offensive line pieces to really fill in, defensive line pieces to fill in. But I would still like to think that the hurdles that they have not been able to overcome this year could possibly be similar to what they were able to figure out in 2010. Now, or excuse me, 2009. The scary thing is if it's more like 2010, boy, those next 2 years, 11 and 12 were rough. So, we'll see. They're going to have a different quarterback at the helm next year. This season's not over. They could still go 9-4. Now, is 9-4 success? Depends on who you are, right? Who you ask. I don't particularly think it's success. I had this team going 9-3 in the regular season and narrowly missing out in the playoff. That was my preseason prediction. And they're now eliminated from they're eliminated from potentially getting to 9 wins in the regular season. So, but yeah, I know it's living in the moment. They've just been so close in every game they've lost this year, and it is incredibly frustrating. Sports Geek 91, what did the coach do at the end of the game for the penalty? No idea. I don't know that any of us got a view of that. Okay, let's go back to our phone line. And Matt, I shot you a text message if you can check your phone while we get this next caller. Let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Who's on the line?
Let's go back to our phone line.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, Corey.
Hi.
Hey, my name is John. I'm a huge fan of yours, man. Like I listen to you every week. I just want to first of all say that I appreciate your intelligence on the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Well, thank you.
I love the Iowa Hawkeyes so much.
I do appreciate those kind words, sir. Thank you for being a fan and for calling in.
I just want to say today's loss is very rough, man. Like it's rough for me, it's rough for you, it's rough for all the Iowa Hawkeye fans. Today's loss is very rough, man. Like it's rough for me, it's rough for you, it's rough for all the Iowa Hawkeye fans. One thing I want to ask you is it never really got discussed last weekend when that defender from for the Oregon Ducks, he threw his towel up to try to defend on that 2-point conversion. It really never got discussed much further. I never really heard it much from you guys or from anyone else.
Well, we did talk about it.
Should that have been a penalty, or how do you feel? So I don't want to take too much of your time.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the call. I don't know if you can turn your computer or your phone down a little bit because I'm hearing myself echo. But what I was going to bring up is late down the stretch of our show last week, I think it was after Matt hopped off, but with Coach Patterson, we talked a little bit about that towel throw. And if anything, in my opinion, should have been an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And in that case, the 2-point conversion gets attempted again, half the distance to the goal, and they get to try it again. Did you see that, Matt? I mean, I know that was brought up in the chat, and at the time we didn't know what it was, but we watched a replay after you logged off of the throw. It was clearly, I mean, the guy clearly, I don't know how he did it in the moment, but he clearly threw his towel, and it looked like it went right by that ball to Kamari Moulton. The end zone. Was a very strange happening. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that in the field of play.
Well, the thing is, I've never broke down games on podcasts before, but I just feel like we have so many of these plays, man, that are just off the wall. Heel to toe, toe to heel, towels being pulled mid play and thrown at the football. It's just, it's a wonderful sport, but it's it's crazy. No, I saw that. Yeah, I don't know. They've probably never seen it either. So what they're going to assess on it or what they're going to do, I don't know. And, I give refs a hard time, but you got to give them a lot of credit too. As fast as these players are playing and as fast as these bang, bang plays happen, these guys can see it most times, which is pretty impressive. So you'll give them that. But yeah, I saw that play and I just kind of forgot about it since last week, but he obviously hasn't.
I will say this, that, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, personal fouls, they ought to be, and I don't know the exact verbiage of the rule book, I guess, but those ought to be plays that you can go to, even if there's no flag, because like with targeting, they can go back and they can review, okay, was it targeting? If not, we'll take it off the field. They ought to be able to do the same thing when a flag was not thrown, just like in the NBA. Like if a guy punches somebody and they don't see it, they're not going to back. We didn't see it. They're going to go in the next time out, look at the replay, and perhaps assess a technical or a flagrant 2, possible ejection, something like that. In hindsight, I can't imagine that nobody on the Iowa sideline saw it. So you're telling me that nobody said something to the official? The official should have been able to go back while reviewing the catch. They saw it on the catch. That's the other thing. They reviewed the catch to see if Moulton's feet were in bounds. They ruled him out of bounds. They should have been able to say, this is how you want to know how they do it, Matt? The Zebras, they come in front of the audience and they say, after reviewing the play, the receiver was out of bounds. However, upon further review, there is an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for throwing an object during the course of the play towards the receiver. It's and half the distance to the goal, replay the 2-point conversion. I don't understand why that's not possible. And if it is possible, why that didn't happen.
And that scenario is a little bit different, but my question would be, there's always coaches complain about something. So how do the refs control that? Is it like a freaking challenge, red flag or something? They're like, hey, I get 2 of them. This is what I saw. You need to review. This is what I'm talking. I don't know. It's something.
But real quick, coaches are always complaining about things. But if they're, this is where I think the line can be drawn. If a coach accuses a player or a team of something that would be considered a personal foul, like a punch, like a late hit, like throwing a towel during the course of the play, to me, those are things that you should automatically be able to go to the review desk and figure out. Now maybe you do want to, make that a challengeable thing where you have to throw the red flag, so to speak. I don't know. It is. You're absolutely right. We ran through the gamut of ridiculous plays and margins that have not gone their way last week, and we just added to the list tonight. That's all we did. We just added to the list. So, caller, you and I are on the same page. If you want to go back and listen to, we went through. We actually showed that play.
That was a crazy play, man. I can't believe it.
Yeah, we showed that play on our broadcast last week. If you want to go back and watch.
Today, though, like at the end of the game, I'll just finish with this. Like, today we finished with running the ball 3 times in a row, and then we threw it on 4th down.
We talked about that one.
We have to question the play calling on that, but man,
little strange.
I'm a huge Hawkeye fan. I'm really bummed out right now, and I'm after last weekend's loss, I was feeling it all week. I thought maybe we could bounce back with a win versus USC, but here we are talking about another loss. What could have been? This is the season of what could have been for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I really feel that. So I don't mean to take too much more of your time, but I'm gonna just leave it with that. Like, this is the season of what could have been for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Do you guys agree? I'll hang up after this.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your call. Appreciate you being a fan of the show and keep calling and keep listening. Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to describe the. I think we're all on the same page on that. It is a season of what ifs, what could have been. And it's not even like in 2021. Well, what if they beat Purdue? What if they hadn't gotten their pants pulled down at home against Purdue after beating? No, they got thrashed by Purdue. So that was just, they got exposed. Nobody's exposed them this year. No, there's no exposing going on. Unless you want to qualify the fact that they've not been able to convert late in games more often than not, then I guess they've gotten exposed in close games. But this is, I don't recall a year like this, Matt. And, it's going to be whether they end up, I mean, they could be set. What's crazy about this is this could end up exactly like 2010. There's no guarantee they win at Nebraska. I mean, they may. And I think they'll beat Michigan State next week, but they could end up 7-5. This is a team that very easily could have been in the playoff, but that's the margin when you're playing close games. Similar to 2015, they could have probably been. I mean, I count up the close games that year. They probably could have been 6-6. Difference of maybe 20 points. And they could have been 6-6 a year. They finished 12-0.
Yeah, and this has been that way since 2002. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To be honest, I mean, it's every year. I mean, we're 500 above, and our 5 or 6 plays that go our way, then we're 10-11 wins. It's just which, listen, is a position that I would want to be in rather than crawling for 3 or 4 wins. We're always competing, unless we just have an off game, which doesn't happen that often either. And you're absolutely right about this season, just so close. And I think it hurts us even more in seasons like this as fans and commentators after the game. It's just a tough one. So, but yeah, like I said, I mean, I remember getting recruited and watching games that 2002 season. I was at that Iowa State game that we lost at home to kind of not ruin that season. That season's forever ingrained in Iowa history. But, every year has been that way. 2003, 2004, on up. They've always been our difference between a 6-5 season or a 7-5 season and a 10-4 is 6-7 plays. And for whatever reason, this season, balls are bouncing off people's wrists and right into some freshman D lineman's hands tonight. And, all these things.
Straight backwards.
Yeah, some 6'7", 350-pound dude just right in his chest. Why not do it?
Yeah. And you got that play. And then we've talked about this. Like some of these plays have defied physics. The bounce against Iowa State, the deflection that just happens to just pirouette down the field to a outstretched arm of Ben Bramer. That's a third down. They don't convert there. I almost guarantee Iowa wins that game because it's third down. They would have punted, and it would have been very difficult at that point. But, man, it's all right. Just got word that Iowa and Oklahoma State wrestling. Those guys, those teams will do battle tomorrow morning down at the duels. So
Is that the semis?
Say that again.
Is that semifinals?
I believe
essentially.
I have to look at the bracket, but I guess that's probably the case.
I thought I just read that. I thought Illinois was quarters, so I would imagine. I think that's what it is. But
yeah, I believe they're on the same side as Oklahoma State. So interesting stuff. All right, we've got, I believe, one more caller, and then we're going to let Matt slide, and we'll let Coach Patterson slide in. Let's go to our last caller before we say goodbye to Matt. How about this guy, Randy Engel, who is owner, co-founder. Did someone co-found Under the Kitchen with you, Randy?
No, it's just me.
It's just you. Randy, I hate to take credit away from you. Welcome back to the show. Before I let you have the floor for a minute here, Randy, we did put the banner up there. Let's shout out Kamari Moulton. He did run the ball hard again, and he's having a terrific year. 6 yards per carry tonight, 15 carries. You could argue he should have had more. I did think there were a few times late. Now, Matt, maybe he was dinged up. But we've talked about those 3 straight runs. They went Jazz, Xavier. Kamari's running the ball well. If he's healthy, I'm shocked they don't get him a carry in there, at least one carry. If you're going to hand the ball 3 times, why not hand the ball at least once to your best back?
Yeah, I mean, he's slippery, man. I mean, he's pretty slick. He's getting 5 or I mean, we saw it. So it was that 6 yard. Yeah, I mean, that was that way all night. So, yeah, I don't know. That's something hopefully someone finds out this week why he wasn't in one of those most crucial 3-play series. So,
just so people are aware, Tom will not be joining us, and I understand he's got a tight post-game schedule. But Kamari Moulton is our RTI Threads player of the game with 15 carries for 90 yards. Randy, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you dialing into our Iowa Smokehouse line.
Yeah, not a problem. Usually I'm coming home from the game stuck in traffic when the show's going on, so I have to listen to it secondhand, but I'm always listening in. So
you have Matt's signature up there on the wall somewhere?
I do not, but
oh man,
it'd be cool to add to it.
Can you real quick?
I'm too old now. I'm too old now, Randy.
No, you're not.
There's the man cave with all these Hawkeyes, and you got signatures from a lot of them, don't you? On the walls.
Yeah, I've got Tim Dwight's signature right there.
I mean, this is his whole base. Matt.
That's cool, man. Claiborne, who is it? Claiborne, Campbell, and DeJean.
Yeah, I got
those aren't too bad of players.
King.
Desmond King.
Yeah. Got Greenway and Hodge on there.
Yeah, they used to yell at me all the time freshman year.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I've got I think 33 players, and I've got Ferentz and Fry on there.
Cool. No, I'll be more than happy if you let me on the wall. I'll get on the wall.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be an honor to have you.
What's the drive from let's see, Mount Vernon to
Mitchellville?
Why do I got Mount? Is it Mount Vernon? Is the closest?
That's where I grew up. I live in Solon now, so.
Oh, that's okay.
Remember, I get a lot of hard time for that. That's the rival town.
Okay,
which they're playing. Solon's playing in the semis right now, so hopefully
we got to get you off here so you can watch your.
No, you're good. You're good.
Team, but yeah, that's not too bad of a drive over to Mitchellville, Randy. We'll try to get Matt out there.
Yeah, that'd be good. Today's football game was a little bit frustrating. I'm sure I blew my son's ears out several times yelling at the TV. I know they can't hear me out in California, but I do everything I can. But it's just frustrating. A lot of times it feels like I can see what Mark brings to the table as far as his leadership and stuff, but then you see the squinty killers that he throws every once in a while. It's like, why can't we just hit an open receiver? Guys are wide open and we're not getting it.
A lot of ground. When he misses, it seems to be a lot of ground balls, Matt.
Yeah, no, we saw that. There was 2 or 3 some of those deep out routes, 10, 12-yard out routes, he was at the toes again for some reason. So, and I saw a comment, can't really blame the wet conditions because that the other QB seemed to be sliding it right in where our guys just couldn't make the play, and those guys could snatch it right out of the air.
Same with Dante Moore. Like when they needed to throw last week, man, those guys are slinging it everywhere.
Unbelievable. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's but he doesn't have the legs. There's pros and cons to everybody, right? I mean, yeah, you'd be the best player in the nation if he could hit every throw because the running he can do with his legs is another facet of his game. So yeah, it's frustrating to watch because some of those second, third downs, easily converted, and then we grind the game away. That's our style, but we can't convert those, or we miss a couple throws. Those are kind of drive killers in our world. It's almost like a penalty in Iowa world when we miss a pretty easily convertible, second or third and 8, or second and 8 or something, and then we're third and 8. It makes a big difference. So. Yeah, I was yelling at TV a little bit too. I think my dog thinks I'm a psychopath, but it's one of those deals where it's a frustrating game. And
our guinea pigs think I'm a psychopath. By the way, Dude Bro says the defensive holding on Lee was the killer. That's another play we didn't bring up because Gray is clearly getting tugged from behind, and then what do you know? They call it was the right call in the end zone, but at a minimum, it should have been offsetting penalties instead. Yeah, I mean, and that was a critical third down. So
that missed face mask was terrible. I can't believe that they turned around and missed that one.
And there was I don't know if it's the same. I don't know which assistant coach it was. I don't believe it was the new running backs coach. So it may have been Raymond Braithwaite, but there was a second face mask. Did you guys note that? It was a quicker one, but it was clearly a face mask late, and there was an Iowa assistant that was going nuts on the sideline. So there was two, but yeah, the one obvious one. I don't know how you missed that when everybody in the whole – what did Jimmy Connors say back in the day when he – against you guys tennis guys? But when he came back –
he looks like a tennis guy?
Well,
come on, man.
Jimmy Connors, man. Jimmy Connors. He says everybody in the whole stadium sees the call, and you call it good. And that's why
it turned his body. I know he was spinning, but it turned his body around.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Come on, man. I don't know.
Anyways, all right, Randy.
Where's the challenge flag?
Anything else for Matt? For Matt before we're going to let him slide here in a second. Anything else for Matt?
Okay. Oh, just one other comment that I've noticed is, as far as on the defense, usually we have one guy that's like one of those big time playmakers like Cooper or Jack Campbell, and you're just thinking that person's not going to let this drive happen. And we just don't. It doesn't feel like we have that this year.
That's a fair point. I thought that's a good point, Randy. I thought early in the year that was Cohen and Tringer, Matt, because he came up on some big fourth down stops, like against Rutgers.
Yep.
But yeah, is that fair?
I've never really thought about that way, Randy. I mean, that's you're talking guys behind you. Greenway, the Campbells, the Claibornes. This is just a solid unit overall, but there isn't really that guy. Which I'm not mad at anybody.
Josie Tool.
Yeah, any of those, type things. And that's, we're pretty inexperienced at linebackers. Those guys have done what they can, in there. But yeah, it's either, I was at Tringer, same thing early on, or, I keep giving number 6 Lutmer some props just because he's a pretty quick dude, and he's made some plays in the backfield too. I mean, that's a guy that's, pretty versatile. You see him playing in the box too, even when they kind of bunch us up in the middle. He's playing linebacker. He had a good play on, I don't know, then maybe third or second quarter. It was a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, and he was took out an old lineman on the line of scrimmage and got in on the hit. So if there was a guy, that I'd say. But I think you're absolutely right, Randy. Like, we just don't have that, the guy that you look at,
I think, you know what I think? This is my opinion, and I'm certainly no defensive guru. I would consider you to be that, Matt. Don't say you're just some dumb defensive lineman. So, but because you played offensive line in the league. But anyways, no, I was going to bring up, they don't have it at linebacker. I think that's maybe the big thing. And I like Carson Shire, and I like Jaden Montgomery, and I like Jackson Rexroth when he's in there. All right. But they don't have a Josie Jewell, a Jack Campbell, a Christian Kirksey, and Anthony Hitchens. I mean, go down the list. I think that might be Jay Higgins.
Yeah,
I don't think they have one of those guys at linebacker, and that may be the difference. Because man, they seem to be really good, and they've been healthy. and they've been healthy at safety and at cash. Like Lutmer's stayed in every game. It's amazing how healthy he's been because they're not real deep at safety. Lutmer and Wampa and Entringer, like they're playing all these snaps. I know one thing we haven't talked about is TJ Hall got knocked out of the game. He came back with ice on his shoulder, no uniform.
Oh,
so
really?
my guess is he ain't going to play next week, and he may be done for the year, and he's their best corner. But they've been really healthy, knock on wood, until now. So I agree. I think maybe linebacker is the place you look at and say they're just not quite there. And next year they may be, because they got a lot of young guys, Cam Buffington and Derek Weisskopf, and Ben Keeter's supposed to play football next year. So maybe they get there next year. But by the way, I don't know how Ben Keeter's going to do that. Matt, you've played. You were.
That's a really hard thing to do, man. That's,
Ben Keeter wasn't even watching the game tonight.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
over. He's with his wrestling teammates. I don't know how he's just going to switch it on and playing football. So I don't think that's going to. He may be able to do it, but I doubt he's going to be able to beat off guys like Buffington and Weisskopf and Preston Reese, etc. So
yeah,
Randy,
12 months.
We appreciate you calling in. We'll have Matt on some more this year, so feel free to call in and chat.
I'll get over to Mitchellville. That's where I'm going. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. We're going to let Matt slide. One more big plug for Farms of America. Farms of America and Media Stash, part of the production team there. They are the reasons why. They are the reason why Matt Kroul has joined us for Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson throughout this second half of the season. A new family farm featured every single week. Watch and listen to how farms adapt, how they stay strong throughout the ever-changing climate that is the 21st century, and how those family farms are providing for those families. And just hear the tough and difficult conversations in that ever-changing climate. Any final plug, Matt, on just why it's so? We've talked about how people can be entertained by this, but from an educational standpoint, why do you think it's important for people to give a show like Farms of America a shot?
No, you said it very well, Corey. And I think the biggest thing is just, and I hit on this last week, is just a transition of family farms, or a transition of acres and land, all those things. Battle's the wrong word, but it's just it's a evolution on how we're going to continue to sustain growing food and continue to sustain agriculture in these Midwest states and the United States overall. How do these farms get transitioned? How are they financially viable into the future? And how do farmers keep adapting and overcoming some of these, you say what you want, world climate in the markets, or local climates in the market. So it's just an interesting thing for this show to add a perspective and to add real world faces and real families that cover, like you mentioned, every facet of agriculture there is. So I think transition is the biggest thing that we are looking at as farmers. How are we going to transition not only your own farm, but how you're going to continue to, sustain the land that you were either given or bought or trying to steer into the future. So that's a big deal. And I think this just gives an really in-depth, view into some of those struggles and to those conversations on how normal families are trying to communicate about this.
Yeah. And some of those conversations, they're not easy. They're not comfortable conversations, but that's what makes this show real. And it's just it's a great watch. So check it out. Reagan and Massey's YouTube channel, brought to you by Reagan and Massey's RM43 Serious Weed Control. Again, Reagan and Massey's YouTube channel. Watch Farms of America right after this show goes final. Matt, enjoy. You're rooting for Solon. Who are they?
Yes.
Who are they playing?
Playing Nevada.
Nevada
knocked off Clear Lake last week, so
they'll beat Nevada. I'm a Story County guy, but they'll beat Nevada.
All right, we'll see what happens.
All right.
I appreciate it, Corey.
Former Hawkeye Matt Kroul joining us. Matt, we'll talk to you next week.
Take care, guys.
All right. We appreciate Matt for being here as we trudge along into we approach the hour and a half mark. We'll be joined momentarily by Coach Don Patterson. Before we get to Don, we got a couple of calls here on hold. So we will, before we get to our first caller, this next segment brought to you by State Farm and Brad Van Meter's team down at State Farm in Des Moines. Give Brad and his team a call and give them a chance to save you money on auto, life, renters insurance, homeowners insurance. 515-256-6480, or visit him online. You can shop your product there at www.bradvanmeter.com. Again, that's www.bradvanmeter.com, saving lots of money on auto insurance. Everybody who's a part of Brad's team saving lots of money on auto insurance. Again, 515-256-6480. His office down on Fluor Drive in Des Moines. This next segment also sponsored by Iowa Smokehouse. I've been teasing this, folks, but get your orders in now. This code is on the verge of expiring. So order your products today and get your get stocked up for the winter, because you'll get 15% off your entire order. There's no limit here, okay? There is no limit. So you spend $50, you'll get free shipping to your door. There's no better snack to pair with your favorite bourbon, your favorite beer. You see the country style bacon meat sticks featured here. Also their jerky, their salsa, everything, their burn ends, everything's delicious. Shop over at iowasmokehouse.com and use that code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. And again, free shipping with a $50 order. iowasmokehouse.com. Let's go back to our phone line. We've got Kroul and Unusual Punishment Corey.
Yeah, you boot me, or you boot Mr. Kroul before I could talk to him and call him out, because he said he didn't have a nickname.
Oh,
and
well.
he clearly did. Him and Mitch King were known as Kroul and Unusual Punishment. And
that's a good one. Was that actually what they called him? I have no idea.
Yeah, heck yeah. I think I'm sure if you talk to your fellow, is it Marshall Townian? Marshall Townian?
Yes.
He would vouch for that. But anyway, I'm just dumbfounded. All these comments about fire ferrets. Okay,
Wait, can we not go down that road?
Okay. So I just want to know how many plays did Ferentz call tonight? Number one. Okay, so if you don't like the play calling, you need to talk about the coordinators.
Hold on a second. Can we at least be balanced here and recognize that if a team is losing a bunch of close games, then that could come back to some degree of coaching, and the buck stops with the head coach. I'm not saying fire Ferentz, but I'm saying he's got to share some responsibility in 4 losses by a total of 15 points. Come on, Corey. You know that. He's the head coach.
Yeah, but the thing is he's got game plans.
Yes.
And he manages games in a way to give his teams the best chance to win with what he's got for cards to play. Okay, let's just be honest here. We don't have matchups. We cannot isolate one of our players on a pass route and have a significant advantage, maybe RVZ at times. Otherwise, I'm sorry, we don't get the separation, and we don't have the schemes and the route trees to create this massive separation.
Well, real quick, they have the schemes and they have the route trees. I think Tim Lester knows how to call a pass game. But if you want to talk about not having the horses at receiver, where does the buck stop there?
It's called.
No. It's not all that.
It's funny how Indiana has risen up with their funding, and they've risen up with their skilled players. It's about the skilled players. Ferentz puts a game plan in place to allow for the best.
You can't sit here and tell me, Corey, that they don't have the money at receiver, but they have the money at tailback. They have the money at every defensive position. They battle everywhere else. But you're sitting here telling me the problem is they don't have enough horses at receiver. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to look at whoever the receiver, if that's the issue, and we can evaluate this at season's end. But if the problem remains with the receiver room and not having enough horses, then you have to look at no further than the receivers coach, John Budmeyer, who was a very questionable hire at receivers coach when he was brought in by Kirk Ferentz. So I'm just saying, if you're going to blame somebody, Kirk is going to get a share of that. You can't totally deflect it away from him. They don't have this issue at any other position. If it was solely about money, then why do they continue to churn out really good running backs? Why is it that they've had Kamari Moulton, Caleb Johnson, Jazz Patterson, Goodson, Sargent? Why do they have capable Big Ten backs, but they, according to you, they don't have capable Big Ten receivers? What's the difference?
We can scheme an offensive blocking scheme as a team that is not it's not about matchups. Okay, when you run the ball, it's not about matchups. It's about a team game, and they can scheme a blocking scheme if everybody does their job and their discipline to overtake a team that's on paper better than them. But when you try to isolate it on matchups, on one-on-ones, you're not going to win consistently. When your NIL is 12 million and theirs is 25 million, and you want to take it to the skilled player positions and matchups, you're going to lose most times. Let's not kid ourselves here. Oh, I think I have the will, so I'm going to will it. Well, Ferentz is a realist. He's not living in a dream world. He knows what he has, and he knows how to make the biggest bang for the buck that we've got.
So
And
just
all,
we could sit here and debate for hours, and I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with you. But just to
Okay.
confirm, Kirk doesn't deserve any share of the blame for losing 4 games by a total of 15 points. Yes or no? Does he deserve any of the blame?
everybody involved deserves some
No,
percentage of blame.
Does he deserve some of the blame?
Go ahead, give it to him.
No, I'm
Fine.
asking you to give it to him. Does he or does he not?
Okay, you want to know where I hold him accountable for
Say
today?
yes or no.
I hold Kirk Ferentz accountable for not calling timeouts and making them review those face mask calls and screaming at the refs. He
Okay.
should have ripped them and called a timeout and not allowed the game to go on. I'd have used all 2 timeouts left and made him review that face mask. Okay, that's what I would have done. That's on him. Okay. If you want to get him on some clock management, you can get him there too. Okay. But when you want to say that, oh, they blew the play calls here and there, that's just low IQ crap because that's on the coordinators. Phil Parker gave up 26 unanswered points there in a stretch, and nobody's called for his job. Nobody's called for Lester's job when we were offensively inept. Okay. And Ferentz didn't call a single play on defense or on offense in that second half. And anybody that doesn't want to face
The
the
problem with what you're saying is you keep going back to this execution has nothing to do with the head coach. And you know that's not true. That's what you're saying. You're saying execution has nothing to do with head coach. It has to do with matchups and play calling. And Kirk is void of both of those things. That's what you're saying is factually not true.
should KF take the playbook away from Lester and
Nobody's
start calling
saying
the plays.
Nobody's saying that. This is not a singular issue that we point at. There's not a singular issue. Well, play calling is the reason they lost. Tim Lester called a pretty good game, and they still lost. Okay? We saw plays called tonight that we've never – have you ever seen Iowa execute a pass back to quarterback? No. And they did it for a touchdown tonight. So before we start jumping on play calling or matchups, the fact of the matter is that Kirk Ferentz, as the head coach, shares a degree of blame when you continue to lose in the same fashion over and over again. It doesn't mean fire Kirk Ferentz, but it means I'll tell you something else, Corey. You better be very worried if Kirk Ferentz doesn't go into that locker room and take the blame. I guarantee you, let me give your guy Kirk Ferentz a vote of confidence. I guarantee you he's going into that locker room and taking blame each and every week. Because that's
every single time. I guarantee you, I'll bet my life on it.
So what's
But
the
what
point
I'm saying is it's pure clownery to call for Ferentz's job. Do you know how it works? Usually they say this coordinator didn't cut it, and they shit can the coordinator. That's how it works. Okay, so all these people that want to hold Ferentz accountable, that happens at the end of the season when he fires or doesn't fire his coordinator. That's how it's supposed to work.
And when the AD either fires him or doesn't fire. Correct. You're right.
Yeah.
You're
And
right.
let me remind everybody, if you do the math and you look at all the coaches that were hired and fired in the Kirk Ferentz era, about 95% of them have done worse than Ferentz. So your odds for doing better than Ferentz when you fire him are about 5%. 5 out of 100 times you're going to do better. And good luck with that, especially when half these people that are calling for his job probably are not swarm members. And I am, and I'm an Iowa State grad. So that's how pathetic you people are, that you can't even give to your own team. You give nothing, you take everything, and you ask the world, but you're not willing to give $1 to the program. And I'm a season ticket holder, and I drive from Michigan every game. And you sad folks on your couches can't probably make a 30-minute drive, and you can't give a dollar to the swarm. You're pathetic. KF forever. I back him tooth and nail, 1,000%. Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz are the greatest things that ever happened to Iowa football besides Patterson. So there.
All right, Corey. Corey went on his rant. Don, you joined at the perfect time to hear the end of Corey's rant. So, Don, welcome. I hope your drive back from Macomb was smooth sailing. I see you got the Western Illinois jacket on, so we'll forgive you for that. So
yeah, please do. It's been a downer of a day, Corey. Think about this. Western loses 22-17. Iowa loses by 5 points also, 26-21. Been a rough day.
it certainly has, Don. And we went through a ton during the first hour and a half with Matt Kroul. And I'm going to try to maybe hit on a couple of things that we haven't touched on yet before we move on. Before we do that, though, we haven't talked to you about our RTI Threads player of the game. Kamari Moulton ran for 6 yards per carry tonight, 15 carries, 90 yards. The only thing you could say was a net negative here is that they didn't give him the ball more. Now, I also think they went away from the passing game at an odd time. But at the same time, USC's dominating the clock because they're just moving the chains, and they're doing it through the air. Very strange middle of this game when Iowa's offense kind of went dark. But Kamari Moulton was really good from start to finish. 15 carries, 90 yards. Why he didn't get a carry on that really consequential final series, I don't know. They brought in Jazz Patterson and Xavier Williams for 3 straight carries before fourth down. Obviously, it was 4-down territory, but if you're going to run the ball 3 times, why not give it to your slipperiest back? Anyways, RTI Threads player of the game, Don, just your thoughts on Kamari. He's not a senior yet, but he's improved enough to where I'm starting to think he might have an NFL future.
Well, is he only a sophomore in terms of eligibility?
I'll grab that, but
I think so.
Yeah, you could be right. Let's see. Moulton is, according to the roster, yes, he's a sophomore, so he's still got 2 years in front of him.
Yeah, that's encouraging. He's got so much football ahead of him.
Now, obviously, that's he'd have, this is his 3rd year, but he got the red shirt. So
right. We listened to you the entire drive home. When we got in the car, the Western game took forever. There were a lot of injury timeouts. Took about 3 hours and 40 minutes. So I didn't get to listen except about the last 8 minutes of the game in real time. It was a Southern Cal broadcast on Sirius. And I thought myself, wish I could listen to our guys, but I couldn't. And it was frustrating because I was aware during that last drive, we needed a touchdown, obviously, and we didn't want to leave them any time. So, correct me if I'm wrong, the 3 runs, was that first down maybe, about on the 20, I guess? What was our yard line, you think?
No, those 3 runs, the 3 runs that I'm referring to were on that final offensive series, and they would have been, I can pull that up here in a second.
Maybe a little further out?
Yes, because that pass, let's find this here. 4th quarter, the turnover on downs, they were at, let's see, incompletion with minute 59. They were at the USC 30. Okay. 29.
So the 4th down throw was roughly 20, 25 yards.
Yep, at the USC 8.
And so it was a sideline we're talking about that was questioned.
Yep, and I'll go ahead, and since you are obviously listening to the broadcast and got a different perspective of that play, I just want you to see it was extreme. I'll just make sure it's very close, but here is the play in question, and this was called out of bounds.
I'm sorry, it looks like his foot's in.
Well,
I
that's
see green in front of his toe, don't I?
sure looks like it. Unless they were saying that at this point his foot is not actually on the ground, but there's
How much more on the ground can it be?
and it's very close, Don. That's hard.
Yeah, maybe it's an inch off the ground.
I think that the bottom line is, if it's called a catch on the field, it's being upheld. If it's called incomplete on the field, it was going to be upheld.
We had a play very similar to that. I was sitting with the AD, and I said, here's the sad part about replay reviews. So often it still boils down to the official's call because there's not enough evidence to reverse the call.
Right. Yeah, and so that's so many frustrating things here. Now, there's a couple of super chats I want to get to. Erica says, Corey, a loss is a loss. We should want to win. Being exposed has nothing to do with it. Kirk needs to retire. Who should be our head coach once he does? Well, I know the hot name right now is Pat Fitzgerald. I think if Pat Fitzgerald wants to coach after this year, he'll get a job elsewhere, and it will probably be very close to the level of job that Iowa is. That'd be my guess. I think he should be up for some of the bigger jobs across the country. And now that his lawsuit is finalized, Zach Nixon, appreciate the super chat. Zach, refs stole the game. I get it from the Big Ten playoff standpoint. 2 missed face masks, hit out of bounds. It was a catch at the end of the game. If we won last week, we would have gotten the calls. Ooh, interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, Don, I hate coming on here and complaining about officiating. And you have not seen the game back on tape. So when you go back and watch it on television, you're going to be able to see some of these things. But clear missed face mask calls. And, the late hit out of bounds on Weegan. What's frustrating, and Matt and I talked about this when he first hopped on, is the flag was thrown for a late hit. Then the officials get together, chat. They come on to the ump comes on the loudspeaker and says, after discussing it with the other officials or whatever he says, after, huddling up, there is no flag on the play. It was a legal hit. Well, that's a stupid. You've just pulled your own.
Too late.
You just pulled your own pants down. So either he got hit or he didn't get hit. Don't tell me it was a legal hit, because we can look at the replay and clearly see he was 2 steps out of bounds. He was clearly out of bounds. So if it was a hit, then it was a late hit. Like I say, you just pulled your own pants down. It was a very unfortunate series of events. Not just that, the missed face mask penalties. And we haven't brought up, well, we did earlier, but the hold call on, I believe it was it on Deshaun Lee, or was it, I believe it was on Lee. No, it was on TJ Hall, excuse me. And by the way, TJ Hall got knocked out, did not return. He came back on the sidelines without his uniform. That's unfortunate. But he gets knocked out, and on the same play, Aaron Graves is clearly getting held on a critical 3rd down. Mayava throws to the end zone where Hall gets called for a hold, except it's not offsetting penalties because the hold in the backfield was never called. And so they get, an automatic 1st down. Hall's out of the game. And there's just so many of those things. And what I said earlier, you probably heard me make the comment to Matt, Don, the comment that was made by the Big Ten commentator about that flag that was picked up for Weegan. He said, I agree with that. There's just too much at stake.
Meaning we know who's supposed to win the game?
You tell me what that means. When you say,
I will admit, Corey, in my 37 years of coach, there have been times when I did say, in private conversation with another coach, there have been times when I did say, the officials know who needs to win the game. I've said that before.
Well, you and I.
That's what you're saying.
Don, you and I both know I can't speak to the integrity of those officials, but all I know is they are Big Ten employees, correct? Maybe I'm wrong on that. Are they not Big Ten employees?
They get paid from the Big Ten, yes.
So basically Iowa was out of the playoff race. I mean, there was this tiny little speck of opportunity for them still, but basically they were out of the race with 3 losses. USC very much in the race. And so in a close game, how could you not, if you have Big Ten employees officiating this game, how could you not even subconsciously favor the team that would help your employer, your company more in the long run?
There's a big difference in qualifying 4 teams for the playoffs and only 3.
Yes. And the comment, like I said, it was made by the commentator after the flag was picked up on the late hit on
Too much
KD.
at stake.
He said, and I quote, "There's so much at." He said, "That's the right call. There's just so much at stake."
Meaning we don't need to shoot ourselves in the foot.
You can't call that. Like it would have been the right call under different circumstances, but under these circumstances, there's just so much at stake. That was an odd comment to make. So, Erica, thank you. Go ahead, Don.
I just was curious who did the game.
I don't even know the names of the guys. It was Big Ten Network, and the main guy was, I believe, he made the comment that the previously scheduled lead analyst had a baby here in the last week, and so this was a late fill-in. I thought they did okay, but I've seen a lot of people in the chat say that they were biased. So,
but let's be clear, they were not the A team or maybe the B team.
No, not at all. And I don't even know. I really don't know who the A team is anymore for the Big Ten Network. I have no idea. But they did fine. But yeah, I just, games on Big Ten Network. It's a Big Ten officials. The circumstances, it stunk a little bit. And the last time I remember saying that in a Big Ten game, I want to say it was 2000. Was it 2019? I believe it was 19 against Nebraska at Lincoln. That's the last time I remember saying that game stunk. That game smelled funny. And I don't even remember the circumstances there other than it was the last game of the year and it just smelled funny. And I would say the same thing about tonight, but it is what it is. And Iowa's got to figure out a way to not let these games come down to those slim margins where the officials can make that big of an impact. And Erica points out to Corey, who called in earlier and ranted and on and on and on about Kirk Ferentz and how much he loves him. And I get it. He's attached to loyal to Kirk Ferentz, but she brings up a point. She says, Cyhawk C-Money, who hired the coordinators? Yeah, I mean, I could have gotten to that, but Corey was not going to let me reason through that discussion. So, but thank you for the super chat, Erica. It's much appreciated. All right. Also, we talked about our RTI Threads player of the game, 15 carries for 90 yards for Moulton. How about Big Grove's big play of the day, Don? This was a fun one. This made me think, hey, Tim Lester, he learned something up there in Green Bay. Pass back to quarterback. He hands the ball to Caden Weegan, who then flips it over to Reese Vanderzee, who then makes a big boy throw in the end zone for a touchdown to Mark. Boy, it would have been great to talk about this game after a win. But that put Iowa up 14 late in the second quarter. Just talk about the design there, and it was a really well-executed play on every level because you got to make that throw if you're Reese Vanderzee with a wet football and make a catch if you're Mark Gronowski with a wet football with a defender.
Well, I believe Reese is right-handed, so I'm assuming it started off going left.
Right.
And then reversed to the right, and, of course, in the meantime, the quarterback leaks out of the backfield, and, of course, nobody's manned up on the quarterback.
Yeah, Weegan was coming across the line of scrimmage to the left. Vanderzee's coming the opposite direction. And, as soon as Gronowski hands that ball off to Weegan, he flanks out to the right. And it was just a beautiful play. Beautifully executed, Don.
Even though it was in the rain.
Now on the road. Big Grove's play of the day. And, Don, boy, I tell you, Hawkeye fans were feeling real good after that play.
And it was 21-7 at the time?
It made it 21-7.
Wow. Well, I was doing the best I could to keep track of the score, of course. And as I recall, 21-10 at the half. Is that right, I think?
Yes, 21-10. They got a late field goal.
And we get stuck in the second half.
Yep, 0 points in the second half. And as I threw up on the graphic earlier, Iowa was outscored 26-7 from the early point of the second quarter on.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
Okay, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. We've got a couple of people who have been on hold for a long time. Benjamin, you're up next. We got Erica as well, but we'll go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling our Iowa Smokehouse call line. This is Iowa Postgame with Coach John Patterson. Who's on the line?
Hey, I have a couple of thoughts. I think this Hawkeye team would be very good if they were still playing the Big Ten West. I think they would be headed to the college football playoff. especially Indiana, Oregon, and USC. We were going against teams with really good passing games. And I think with these small margins we've had this year, I think a good passing game would have made up for that. Unfortunately, if we're going to compete down the line, I think we're going to have a better passing game.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Now, Don, you haven't studied the tape, but and caller, you tell me if I'm totally off on this. It felt like in that first half, Iowa's passing game was in pretty good shape.
Yes, it was. I felt like we played really well, but in the second half, it didn't work out very well. Lots of some bad passes by Mark Gronowski, and just some things that didn't go our way with the passing game. It was non-existent in the second half.
Well, let's segue to Don. Because Don, you coached quarterbacks for a long time, and it was brought up earlier in the broadcast that it seems like when Mark misses guys, and he missed, to the caller's point, he missed a lot of guys tonight, especially in that second half. He actually started better than he normally does. And I'm not saying Tim Lester was listening to this post game last week, but one of the things I said was get him some deep balls early, kind of flush the nerves out. And that's what they did, and it worked. But, boy,
I wasn't winning that first drive, 4 out of 5 for 63 yards and only 2 runs.
I loved it, and it worked. But, Don, it seems like Mark, when he misses guys, he misses them low and he misses them in the ground. So is that I'm guessing you're going to tell me you would first look at mechanics and footwork. Tell me why Mark Gronowski misses throws typically low. Is there a fundamental reason why that happens?
I need to know, is he setting up in the pocket? Is he on the run? What kind of passes are they?
I think he's in the pocket more often than not when he's grounding these balls. They're oftentimes, leaks out to Caden Weegan or passes in the flat or, short crossing routes. I mean, he misses guys on short passes low at their feet. And sometimes they're horrendously low. I mean, like no chance to even make the catch. And there's at least one play tonight, I believe it was Caden Weegan, that had to go down to the ground to make a catch. And he probably can run for a first down, but he ends up going down to the ground to make a 2-yard, 3-yard completion.
Yeah. Frustrating. Sounds like nowhere near ideal conditions. I know what you're going to say. Didn't seem to affect that guy very much.
Same thing I'd say with Dante Moore last week. Dante Moore seemed to, when they needed him to make big throws, he made big throws in big moments. So, that's hard to really look at the rain and say that's the issue. And let's not forget, Mark has had some of these issues all year. We brought up Albany. We brought up early against Iowa State. Well, really the whole game against Iowa State. Like, he's had issues.
Do we really think in home games at South Dakota State, really think we got ideal playing conditions up there? No, we don't. So he's playing in adverse weather. That's my point.
You watched a lot of, and you called some of those games for ESPN, Don, when he was up at South Dakota State. Did he have that issue there? Do you remember?
No, I can't recall a bad weather day.
Well, no, I'm not talking about bad weather. I'm just saying, did he have, because he seemed like we've got enough sample size now to say.
I think the luxury he had is that South Dakota State in general was going to outrush the opposition.
So that just made it a lot easier on him as a passer.
Less pressure on the QB because they were going to be ahead of the chains almost all the time.
Yeah. Caller, anything else? I don't know if that really addressed what you had to say, but.
I also wanted to say that I hate this new Big Ten. It doesn't make sense geographically. It doesn't make sense from a culture standpoint. I mean, what's next? You're going to have teams from Canada in the Big Ten? Like, I hate it. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. But
well, it's not going back, regardless of how we feel about it.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Big Ten. It's everywhere. So that's why you have Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. And you have Cal and Stanford in the ACC. It's not going away.
Here's what I just like. Think about this. You're playing 9 conference games, and there are 17 potential opponents. You're playing barely a little over half the league. That's it. How are you going to have scheduling that's anywhere near fair? Be a huge challenge to do it.
Well, and then that's
and
why
I certainly don't think they got it done this year. There's Michigan that plays one team in the conference preseason top 25. Meanwhile, Wisconsin has to play 4, I believe it was. If I was a Badger fan, I'd feel like they were trying to get me.
Anything else, caller?
That is it. So, have a good night.
Appreciate the call. Absolutely. Have a good night. Appreciate him calling in. Zach, thank you for being a premium member. Same thing for Dennis V21 BMS. Thank you for being a premium member as well. And Skoll says, I appreciate diving into the refs and commentators. It did seem very USC heavy. Like I said, I'm not here trying to act like I hate having conversations about officiating after games. I hate it. It's my least favorite thing to do. I'd rather talk about Brian Ferentz, believe it or not. But when it smells, it smells. And to me, it stunk tonight, similar to Nebraska 2019. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse phone line. We've got Benjamin joining the show. Benjamin, appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm on the road here, so if you hear any road noise, I'm driving back from Sioux City tonight. I'm a Dork Defender alum. Hayden Large played for our program, and I went up and watched us lose to Morningside in overtime today. So a bad day for me as a sports fan.
Good, bad day across the board, it sounds like.
Bad day across the board. I've got just a real quick question, and it's kind of, I've been thinking about it for some time as far as the program goes and kind of the state of the program. And we're losing a lot of close games. And I understand, this season you kind of have to take one season at the time and one game at the time, and all of, you want to not overreact as, you can overreact pretty quickly, especially losing 13-year-old ranked teams and things like that. But are we going to be able to, with the, and I don't want to talk bad about Kirk because I love Kirk. I think the man deserves a statue. I think give the man a statue outside Kinnick, and he's been great for the program. And I've got tons of memories of watching us beat teams that we weren't supposed to beat in Kinnick and all of that. But with the way that we play on such slim margins, are we going to be able to change some of these results anytime soon? And I know you'd like to say, hey, it's just one bounce here or there. But, I mean, that's a hell of a lot of bounces in a row to go the other way. And at some point, when do we start looking at the program and making adjustments in order to play with more of a margin?
I guess what I respond to, because Benjamin, I asked Matt Kroul a question earlier today, like, how do you lose all these games kind of the same way? But he is right. Like, they did this in 2008. They lost a bunch of close games. I brought up 2010. They lost 5 games by a total of 18 points. But then, you talk about 2015. You talk about most of 21 or even 23 when their offense sucked. They were winning all these close games. Now, I know that the schedule was easier, so it's going to be hard but they're in the close games against these better teams this year. So, isn't it fair to say that Kirk has made his money winning close games because he normally wins between the margins? I mean, they are the least penalized team in the country, Benjamin. He's the least penalized team in the country. So they are still playing disciplined. They are an opportunistic team, although their turnover count, forcing turnovers, has went down, unfortunately, at a consequential time. But, Don, how do you respond to that? I get his frustration where it's like, how do you lose all these close games back to back to back to back? And how do you fix it? But at the same time, most years they're winning these games.
Well, you've heard me say many times, good teams win close games. And if you don't win your fair share or more, then you're not a good team. I hate to say it that way because it would suggest that we're not a good team.
So you're just telling me it's as black and white as some of those teams, even during the late Brian era where the defense was great and the offense was horrible. But those were good teams. And this year, even though the offense from a statistical standpoint is much better, that they're just not a good team because this team won the close games and this team lost the close games.
Well, it's not fair to label them. Let me finish with another thing I used to say. That's one thing I used to say. Good teams win close games. But here's the truth. Let's just talk about the element of luck. As a younger coach, I've been quoted as saying, that's fine to be lucky on one day, but over the season, luck evens out. I'm here to tell you, it doesn't even out over a season sometimes. Some years you have bad luck, more so than good luck, or vice versa. I can't explain it. sometimes it just seems like, well, that's the way God wanted it to be. And that's a good example. The ball in Iowa State that's tipped on the line of scrimmage, skips off a defender, and ends up in the hands. I'm sorry, was maybe the skip off of a Iowa State player. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was tipped by our guy at the line of scrimmage, and then it went off an Iowa State guy, and it went to another Iowa State guy who incidentally made a really good catch to even be able to possess the ball. That was an incredibly lucky play.
Yeah, and that's, I know that's not the answer you want, caller, but there have been like a dozen or more plays like that we could just run through. And, you know, when they're winning the games in other years in close fashion, we're not talking about all those little plays because we're just so used to Iowa making those little plays. And this year they're just not. But I don't know that we can overreact to 1 year of really bad bounces. I'm not going to call it bad luck. Don just did, but I'm not going to call it that because I you know, sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. But it's hard to sit here and say that we're trying to analyze the game.
Well, I guess my response to that would be I don't know that it's been just 1 year of bad bounces. It's 4 years in a row since we've now beaten a ranked team since 2021, I think, unless correct me.
No, okay. All right. You are right about that. So they were winning close games against mediocre, you could argue, mediocre competition.
And I think that's where I'm sitting is we're not beating good teams anymore. And we used to beat good teams. And it's been you can overgeneralize a good team as a ranked team, but that's kind of the measuring stick that we have is are they in the top 25? Are they not in the top 25? And some of the teams we've beaten have been pretty good football teams, but they weren't in the top 25. But that ranked wins is a big deal. And it's been 4 years.
No, I that's a fair comment. That's a fair concern, Don.
For my recall too, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm the one that brought it up to you because I did the research. In those 13 games, 2 of them happened in Jennings, right?
Yes, that is a fair point. So the numbers have to be put into perspective. Almost, not all of them, but most of those games during that long streak, occurred during the Bryan era, and that, again, I said to Corey earlier, the buck stops with Kirk, so Kirk still has to take responsibility for his program during that stretch. But most of those games did come away from home, if not in a bowl game and in a Big Ten championship game or on the road. That's A. B, here's my response to the conversation, Benjamin. They, during that period of time, even towards the end of the Bryan era and into the early, now 2 years of Tim Lester's era, we're seeing like they were not competing in a lot of those games.
That's true. That's fair.
Now they're like right there. So I'm like, I'm not saying you're advocating for giving up or throwing the towel in, but do we sit here and say, well, time's up? Well, it seems like they're right freaking there, man. And today was on the road. Like, say what you want about USC. I don't know if they're legit or not, but they got a really good passing game, a really good offense. But they did it on the road today. They lost, but they were right there, just like they were right there against Iowa State on the road, and they were right there against Oregon, right there against Indiana. So it sucks. I don't know how much, like I brought up earlier, 2008 led to 2009, 11-2 Orange Bowl victory. 2010, it was sort of off the 2009 momentum, disappointing, but they lost 5 by a total of 18 when 2011 and 2012 were rough. But does this potentially lead them into greater success next year? Maybe. I don't even know what the core is going to be from year to year anymore, because so much of what I was doing right now is based on bringing in a transfer portal quarterback and, having to really put some consequent portal pieces around in consequential spots. So they'll have a nice nucleus, but they also have players to replace. And to me, it's just harder than ever to project forward for a team like Iowa that's still developmental. To know, can they ride this momentum and figure out a way to get over the hump next year, because the team's just going to look a lot different. So that's what makes it frustrating.
I think kind of my thought would be we've got to find a way to fix the passing game, and we've got to hope that Hecklinski is the guy to fix it, I think, because if he's not, we may be in trouble as far as the offense goes.
So I'm just curious, do you – like they brought in Hecklinski out of the portal. They brought in Gronowski out of the portal. They brought in Hank Brown out of the portal. They brought in Jackson Stratton out of the portal. Do you believe that they are incapable of bringing in a better transfer portal quarterback, or are you just putting all your the Hecklinski ring because you believe he's their best option? I mean, what
I
they
think
brought
he
in
was the Georgia 5A Player of the Year, wasn't he? Out of high school, so he was pretty highly touted out of high school.
To
And
be
looked
honest
good
with
in his
you-
time at Wake Forest.
To be honest, I don't really care who is the player of the year. I want to know, here's what we should think seriously about. The guy taking snaps in Indiana was a good get. He was not supposed to be the best new player in college football to leave Cal and go to some other school. They made a good choice to recruit him, and they did a good job of helping him to win football games, both with their coaching and with their other players on the roster.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's really hard to project year to year for a roster as a whole now, Benjamin. But specifically at quarterback, it's almost impossible. This room is totally different than it was last year, and so if I had to guess, like, it probably will be Hecklinski next year. Will Brown be his backup? No idea. Will Jimmy Sullivan be on the roster? No idea. I don't think Jackson Stratton will likely be on the roster. I don't know that. But what Gronowski, I think a big storyline to follow in the offseason. Here's what I'll say about quarterback. A big storyline to follow in the offseason is with what Gronowski has been able to do, and he can still sort of build some of that, even though they're irrelevant nationally now. In these last two games, his final stats and just kind of the legacy, the one-year legacy that he leaves in Iowa, will that help or hurt them in the sweepstakes for future transfer quarterbacks? Because he was a good prospect. I know he was, from the FCS. He was kind of late in the cycle. He was a very good prospect. It's going to be hard for Iowa to attract better portal prospect quarterbacks. So unless they can, and Tim Lester can just figure out a way to evaluate better than Iowa has, which he should be, including in the portal, it's going to be hard to get a more seasoned guy at that position with a better resume. And I'm disappointed he's not coming back next year because I still like Mark Gronowski a lot. But it is going to be dependent on what they can do in the portal, or if they can somehow maintain some level of consistency and lack of attrition there. If they can kind of be stable in that room, maybe they can. Maybe Hecklinski can be the guy. Maybe Hank Brown can be the guy. We'll see.
What about this is my last question, and I'll let y'all run. But what about the talent around our quarterbacks? Are we going to be able to address some of the issues we have at receiver and some of our skill positions? That I think would be the secondary concern for me is, one, QB play, but also we have a hard time getting guys open against good teams too. And I know Mark misses some guys. There's some reading the defense issues there where we, especially against the Indiana game, against Indiana in that game, we had guys open and he just wasn't throwing the ball or wouldn't hit them or what have you. But I think we need to upgrade talent at receiver pretty drastically, or at least a level higher than what we have.
How long have we been saying that?
Years we've been saying that.
Long time.
And it's a tough sell simply because of what's happened in recent years.
Yeah, so I receiver's an interesting one too because they're losing a lot there. They are, if we look at this from an objective standpoint, they are much better at receiver than they were 2 years ago. Can we agree on that?
Yes,
they are
very much. Yep.
Much better with Gill and Phillips and Vander Zee. They are, but they're not good enough. I agree. They got to be better. And so, Tim Lester's done a heck of a job. That's why I liked the hire when they brought him on. He's done a heck of a job in his career at identifying under-regarded receivers. So why can't he do that out of high school, in the portal, now at Iowa? So that's what if I'm trying to sell the future at receiver in the passing game to you, Benjamin, I'd say Tim Lester's a former quarterback. He's got a long track record with undersized, undervalued, under-recruited receivers. So even if Iowa can't recruit well, so to speak, quote unquote, get guys out of the portal, attract people to this offense, he does have something that people like Brian Ferentz could never dream of having, and that's the ability to evaluate diamonds in the rough at those skill positions.
Well, we can all thank God he's not Brian, that's for sure. He does a hell of a job calling a game. So I hope we can get the talent around him so we can open the playbook up and kind of see the full scope of the offense. I think it'd be a great thing to see if we could do that.
I agree. Anything else to add to that, Don?
No, can't think of anything.
Anything else, Benjamin?
No, sir. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the call. Good stuff. Good call. Big picture, but not overreacting. Dustin says, happy to see Corey's internet is back to dial-up standards again. I think we're okay now. That was about an hour and a half ago, so I think we're okay now. Doing our best. We'll audit this stream after the fact. So YouTube Sucks says he expected this team to be 6-6, so they beat his expectations. I don't know why you'd predict 6-6, but hey, it's possible they go 6-6, Don. They could lose out and they're 6-6.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think it'll happen, but it's possible.
No, I don't think it will happen either. Okay. Something to add, Don, before we go into our next caller?
Yeah, just to kind of put it in perspective, let me just talk. You're going to be talking about prediction models.
Yes.
And I'm not going to tell the general public what those models are made of. But just so you're aware, the prediction model we've been using that was the best over the past month, last week, after last week's games, I came up with one that was better. The old model was 94% win. That sounds pretty good. It was 48 wins and 3 losses at that time. Not bad. But I found one based on last week's games added to those that were previous. We're now up to 56 games played. The record of the new prediction model before last night when they played the first game of the weekend, the record through the first 56 games was 46 wins and 1 loss. 46-1. I didn't mind telling you what the 1 loss was. The exception game, Minnesota managed to beat Michigan State 23-20 in overtime, playing at home. That was the exception game. Obviously, you'd expect an overtime game might be a coin toss, and it was. But here's my point. When I took that prediction model that was that reliable over the first 56 games of the season, guess how that model held up today for us? There's only 4 parameters I know for a fact, without having to crunch all kinds of numbers. I know for a fact Southern Cal won 3 of them. And I won't tell you what they are, but they won 3, and they might have won all 4. I'm not sure. I know they won 3 of them. Hence, it's not a surprise to me that we lost the game, because the parameters that mattered the most, we didn't win. That's the truth.
Okay, this is a question that I'll throw to you, Don. Jay Versteeg says, why wasn't that a catch due to being pushed out of bounds? So that play with Weegan, he's up in the air, receiver's trying to push him out. He wants to know what the rule is. He was not pushed with his hands, but his trajectory was clearly altered towards out of bounds by the defense. What is the rule on that?
Well, when I was listening to the actual game broadcast, I believe it was during the game, maybe it was post-game, I can't remember, but somebody, as part of that Southern Cal broadcasting crew, they said the rule is no longer, they don't project where your foot was going to be. If you're in the grass and you go off the field, then you're out of bounds. So they suggested it doesn't matter if the defender carried him out of bounds or not. If his foot didn't come down in bounds, he's out of bounds.
Yep. So I don't know if that's a different rule or if that rule, but yeah, that's my understanding, because we saw the same thing Penn State, Indiana.
I still want to see the same broadcast. And at that point, Corey, I'll get into the rule book and see if that's true, that that's the way it's interpreted nowadays. I don't know. It used to be you make a judgment, where would his foot have come down? If the defender carries him off the field, then it still might be ruled a catch, simply because his foot was on the path to being in bounds.
Yeah.
I'll have to check to see if they've changed the rule. According to this broadcaster, they have.
Mitchell says the game was rigged for USC, and that's all there is to it. Nothing else to talk about. Should have been a blowout. Well, that might be a little bit over-eager. But, yeah, I see a lot of these comments, Don. People, they are convinced that they smelled a rat, as Kirk said once when playing Penn State. And it, like I say, it stunk a little bit. So,
I already acknowledge over my 37 years of coaching, 425 games, I've said more than a few times, after the game, the officials knew who was supposed to win the game. And if I brought it up, it was because it appeared that they favored the team that was favored to win.
Lorenzo wants to know if team morale could be a problem at this point, given all the close losses. Don, do you worry about what that means? Is that reflective of a locker room issue, a leadership issue?
Well, that's always a concern, of course. You wouldn't be much of a coach if you didn't have a concern about morale from one week to the next. But it all starts with recruiting guys that have great character, that are very resilient and tough-minded. And I think we're in good shape in all those areas. I don't think we'll have any issues getting them ready to play again. I really don't.
All right, we've got 2 callers waiting on hold. We'll go to our first Iowa Smokehouse caller. We got Erica joining us. Erica, good to see your face. Erica, do we have you?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute, I think. Do you hear me now?
Yes, we got you. Loud and clear.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure because I'm using a tablet, so sometimes it doesn't work.
No, you sound clear.
All right, good. So I don't even know where to start because there's been a lot said in the chat and a lot said in the phone calls or in the, call-in line, whatever. The first thing I have to say, and I'm not going to go off on a rant because frankly, I don't have the energy, but Cy-Hawksy Money Man, come on, dude. Please just stop with the homerism already. It's disgusting. I respect Kirk a lot, but this is just the same thing over and over and over again. And it sounds like your solution is to fire the coordinators. But as I said in my super chat, who hired the coordinators? Can you explain that to me?
Well, that's what I was trying to get him to understand. And I'm not an advocate for firing Kirk right now, but what I was trying to get him to understand is you can sit here and talk about, well, Kirk's not calling the plays and, we don't have receivers that get separation. You can't just sit. It's a defeatist attitude to say, well, we're just not capable because we don't have the money.
Right.
Again, I know Iowa State's got some good funding for basketball, but, they bring in receivers. But
that's because they've proven they can develop them. We haven't proven that.
That's my point. That you can't sit here and say, well, it's about the money when you're able to get really solid tailbacks year after year. You get really solid. They're even getting, you look at the other side of the ball. Every year they have guys who are playing at the next level, basically at every position.
Right.
Whether we're talking cash, safety, corner, D-line, the only position where they're really not is receiver. They've also had guys going back into the previous offensive coaching staff. They also have guys that have left and had more success other places, like a Charlie Jones, like a Tyrone Tracy. Go down the line. So they have had people. You can't sit here and act like, well, the coaching staff deserves no blame or John Budmeyer.
We haven't developed them.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here calling for John Budmeyer to be fired right now. But that was Don, we were very critical of that hire when it happened. When he got promoted and, when he was an analyst, that's one thing. But now all of a sudden he's your receivers coach. And I think we were all felt a little bit better given the fact that you had Tim Lester as his coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, was he the best possible hire they could get at receiver coach? Apparently Kirk thought that, but you can't act like there's not some blame on coaching. And to your point, Erica, if you want to blame Lester, or you want to blame Phil, or you want to blame Budmeyer, Kirk deserves at least some of that blame. And Don, I made the comment, if Kirk's not taking the blame in the locker room, then he's not a good football coach. And I guarantee you he is taking the blame because he is a good football coach. But so sitting here and saying he doesn't deserve the blame, yeah, that's just, you can feel that way, but it's just not reality. And I like Corey, but it's just not reality. And I get he's upset because he sees people are going to live in the moment. But we have to realize that when you lose close games, it is reflective of something. Now you got to figure out what that is, but it's a trend.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a one-time deal. This is a pattern.
Correct.
If this were a one-time deal, I would say, yeah, you know what? Everyone's overreacting. This is overblown. This is ridiculous. But this is a pattern. We haven't beat a top team since 2021. That's not acceptable. And, I respect a lot of what Kirk has done. I'm not saying like fire him tomorrow, like how Penn State fired Franklin in the middle of the season. I'm not saying we should do that either. But it's just at some point we need to be honest. We're not being intellectually honest if we don't put any 0% blame on Kirk. Okay? That's just not honest.
Can I just address this? And I'm just going to let you answer this question, Don. Brett says, if you don't give to the NIL, you have no business commenting. That includes.
Oh God! You know what?
Hold on. Let's let Don address.
This is bullshit.
If you don't give to NIL, you have no business commenting, and he's including apparently people like us that talk about the game and provide entertainment and analysis to people. Nobody has business being critical unless you're giving to the swarm. What a bunch of bull crap. I'm sorry.
First of all, I'll have this person.
I'm sorry.
Can't see, my tablet screen is too small. Brett Hawthorne, does it say? Brett, I'll have you know I do give to the swarm, so maybe you should chill out a little there.
I'm going to say right now, I don't give to the swarm. All right, and I don't feel any guilt in saying that. I also work. My part of my day job is working as a some form of an Iowa media member. I'm not giving to the swarm. With all due respect,
that's almost conflict of interest if you were to give to the swarm.
I could do it if I wanted to. I'm not going to do it. What are you going to? So I can't come on here and talk about it.
Yeah, Corey. I guess you're not allowed to have an opinion. We don't have freedom of speech in this country anymore unless you give money.
Well, you can have.
I don't know. I guess that's what it is.
I disagree with you, Brett. You can have that opinion. I think it's bullcrap opinion because you're calling out people apparently like us. Because I made the comment earlier that I don't give to the swarm, and I have no problem saying that. So, anyways, go on, Eric. Anything else?
Yeah. So, I'm also not saying it's just Kirk's issue either. Like, to be completely fair, like this isn't. How can I say it? Like, this isn't about pointing at the finger at one person. The players didn't execute. That part's on them. Maybe the coordinators didn't prepare them well enough. That part's on them. Maybe the play calling wasn't perfect 100%. That's on Lester. Maybe Phil could have called a few plays differently on defense. That's on him. So this isn't just about firing Kirk or whatever people want to think or whatever agenda they want to make up. And maybe some people need to take off their black and gold glasses to see that as well. I don't know. But like you said, the fact that, if you don't give to the swarm, you can't say anything. Come on. This is the U.S., like the USA. Like, regardless of what's going on in this world, we have freedom of speech in this country. So that's BS too.
And I want to just make it very clear to Brett, who said that. You do have to think about that logically. I can understand living in the moment like Corey did when he called in earlier. But we have to also recognize that there are people such as myself that spend money on Iowa football in other ways. So you say, if you don't give to the swarm, you're not a supporter. Well, that's factually untrue. Don, I'm not going to ask you if you're a swarm supporter. I think I know the answer. But you give and have given to Iowa in a lot of other ways. So you're making putting an arbitrary line in the sand. And it's just not, that's not fair either. We have to find a balance with frustration here. We can't sit here and say, well, Kirk deserves to be fired because they've lost every game this year. Whereas the other side of it says, well, no, everybody else but Kirk is to blame. There's blame to go around.
Exactly. Thank you.
Plays better. You got to develop better. The NIL, the swarm could use more support, but everybody has to do what they can do with their families.
Right.
And what they prioritize. And like, there are bigger things in football as well. Doesn't mean we have no right to enjoy it. You're telling me that if say I'm Joe Blow and I got a family of 6 and I can't afford to give $20 a month to the swarm because I'm making ends meet just to get food on the table, that I have no right to say anything about Iowa football that's critical. I mean, it's
just as dumb. It's just as dumb as the people who say, unless you're an alum, you have no right to say anything. That is stupid too. It's just people can enjoy whatever team they want. Like, it should not come with like prerequisites. Oh, well, you can't be an Iowa fan unless you're alum or unless you give to the swarm. I'm sorry, but no, it does not work that way. And now I'm ranting, which I said I would not do, and I apologize.
I agree.
But anyway, the other thing I wanted to say too, like you, Corey, I hate the officiating talk, but when you blow 2 face mask calls, okay, and you have like the game callers totally favor, like it was obvious what their bias was. So like And again, this goes back to the blame, there's blame all around. Like, I'm not saying we lost because of the officiating. I'm saying we lost because, again, we weren't prepared. Maybe the coordinators didn't prepare the players well enough and they couldn't execute. Maybe Kirk was too conservative. Maybe he butted in on the play calling, which I personally think does happen. I don't care what anyone says. There's so many different parts of this. Part of it was the officiating, but part of it was everything else I already named. So, I mean, to say that the loss is just one person's fault or one, element's fault, if you will, that's BS as well. And there's just so much of that going around. I am so tired of seeing on social media that, oh, it's just the officiating. Oh, well, just Kirk needs to be fired. No, none of those things are true. It's blame for everybody. And it's a pattern. Like, we need to be real here. Like, do we want to win or not? Right? And if we want to win, something has to be done. Something needs to change.
As I said earlier, Erica, there's got to be balance with how we approach all these losses and recognize that what Don said earlier is true. A lot of those losses in the last 5 years came on the road away from Kinnick. That doesn't mean that they should have lost every one of them. But
I don't like that excuse with their. I don't care if they're at home or not.
Well, but what I was going to say next is the numbers indicate that they're closer now than they were last year. So,
and that's great, but we're not going to get much closer.
So my question is, do you give up at this point? Is that what you're saying? Like,
I'm saying something has to change. I don't know what that is. I'd be open to letting Kirk retire. I'm not saying we should fire him. I think they should come up maybe with some type of mutual agreement next year. Maybe if you don't win X amount of games or something like that, or get to, I don't know, the Big Ten championship, or I don't know what, but some type of milestone, right? Maybe they mutually part ways. Don't fire him, mutually part ways. Make it respectful, right? Like, it does. And I also don't buy the argument, oh, well, look at what happened at Wisconsin or Nebraska. No. You know why I say no to that? Because Beth isn't dumb enough to make stupid hires like they did in Wisconsin and Nebraska.
Do we see this as we need to see immediate results when there's change? Because
it depends what the milestone is, though.
Well, this is Leicester's second year, and they went from horrific offense. So now this is Leicester's second year. They have substantially improved the offense. I don't want to hear about total offense right now because that's only one.
No, I agree with you.
But they've substantially improved the offense. And with that has come closer performances, neck and neck performances against the likes of programs that 2-3 years ago they were getting their butts beat in. So my question is, are we just saying with the time's run out, too late, we should have seen immediate results? Or do we look at this and say they're really close? So logic would tell me that maybe next year, if they keep going in that direction, they're going to get over this hump and recognize the progress they've made. I just don't know, like, how can you expect from where they were offensively just all of a sudden click, they're back and they're beating. I mean, this program really took years. They aged years during the Brian Ferentz era, and that's Kirk deserves blame there. But he
does.
He set them back a long time. I mean, it takes a long time, Don, doesn't it, to climb out of a hole that is what that offense was collectively in almost every category. That's not easy to fix, right?
Yeah, that offense was hot garbage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the new Big Ten, especially because I was critical of Iowa for not making the move prior to the year they did because it coincided. Wisconsin had an opportunity had they hired the right person, and apparently Luke Fickell's not the right guy, but Wisconsin had an opportunity to use that extra year prior to the 18-team conference becoming official to establish themselves, to get ready NIL-wise, and to be ready to compete at this level. And I thought Iowa did it a year too late. I give Tim Lester a lot of credit because here, year two, with the expanded Big Ten and a new offensive coordinator, they are right there. So my opinion right now is, even though I don't know what the team's going to look like next year, I think Lester's a part of that. Kirk deserves some credit because he's a head coach, although he's also part of the problem as to why they were in the hole that they were in. But to me, they have gotten there. They've climbed themselves so far out of that nasty offensive hole to a point where they are competitive on offense and as a whole against better teams. Let's see what they do next year, because the schedule is going to be hard next year. I get it. It's going to be hard. And by the way, Kirk can retire whenever he wants. I'm fine if he retires tomorrow. I'd be fine to move on, but I'm also like, not out of the mind right now. Get that man out of here. They're too competitive for me right in this moment for me to say that. This has been a 1-year close loss issue. The issues against top 25 teams in the last 5 years have not been a close loss issue. Those are
that's not, but it's the same
relevance.
It's the same thing though. Like, loss is a loss. To me, I don't really care if it's 5 points or 15. A loss is a loss.
Okay, so you're telling me that,
And I'm not saying, just so I'm perfectly clear, I'm not saying fire Ferentz tomorrow. I am not saying that. I'm frustrated with him. I think that's fair to be frustrated with him.
it's fine to be frustrated, but when you say a loss is a loss, you can't convince me that a 40-7 loss to Ohio State at home is the same as an 18-16 loss to Oregon at home. Like you
could almost argue that a close loss is more frustrating though.
But you can also see that the progress is going this direction. Right?
I don't know. I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of the same 8-win seasons all the time, or 9-win seasons, occasional 10-win seasons. Like, I'm frustrated and tired.
I get that.
Oh, that's a comment that I made earlier. Yeah. I'm like,
let me say this. If we were getting our heads handed to us when we lost, you'd tell Erica even a lot worse. We were competitive in every game so far. Every game.
But I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying to fire anyone right now. In fact, I'm a big Lester fan. I would be for what I'd be for is if he became head coach, actually.
Well, I don't know that he's proven enough, but no, this is good dialogue. I'm sentimental towards everything you said.
And this talk about Pat Fitzgerald, I don't understand that either. And I'm being sincere. I'm not being argumentative. I don't have a better suggestion except maybe bringing I've talked about this before on here, I think. Bringing Bob Stoops in for a few years, like as a temporary type of fix, right? And kind of training or mentoring whoever the next head coach will be. I kind of like that idea. And I'm not saying we should fire Kirk again. I'm not saying that. But whenever he does leave, whether it be on his choice or firing or whatever the circumstance, why not bring him in for a few years, mentor whoever the new person's going to be? I think that's a good idea.
The one thing that the Pat Fitzgerald connection, I think from a cultural standpoint, say what you want about the scandal there at the end, but he fits the cultural thing. He and Kirk, that's the connection there, Erica, and his son does.
I know his son goes there too, so yes, I get that connection
right now. So
actually, I think that's a bad look because we already had a nepotism reputation, right?
Well, he's a walk-on. I don't think he's on the verge of playing. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, but players play for their parents everywhere. That happens everywhere.
Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, because I'm kind of undecided about this next thing I'm going to ask, as far as the defense goes. Okay, someone in the chat, and I don't remember who it was, so I can't quote them, but said something about we have an elite or a playoff level defense. Now, I'm not denying that they're very good because they're very good. But to me, this is not typical Iowa defense, what we're seeing. Because if we go up against anyone who has any type of offensive power, it feels like what happened in the second half of today's game. Like, I feel like if we had like the defense with Jay Higgins or Jack Campbell, like that might not have happened. So I don't know what you think about that.
Well, here's what I think about that. I agree. It was painful. It was painful to watch that second half. But I also think it was painful watching Iowa give up tons of yards to Aiden Childs in Michigan State last year.
Oh, yeah, that hurt. That did hurt. Yeah, that's true.
It was also really painful to see Iowa give up tons of yards to UCLA on the ground last year.
Oh, that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
So my point in bringing that up is I don't think today's just some of the issues this year are a one-off. We saw some of those issues in moments last year. But again, the balanced approach to this that I'm going to take, they gave up 20 to Indiana. They gave up 18 to Oregon.
Yeah.
Hard to be real frustrated with either one of those numbers. And Indiana's been scoring 40 and 50 against everybody, as has
I think they've even scored 60 on someone, did they not?
USC has scored a ton of points. That's a really good offense they just played today. It's a really, really good offense. So I agree.
Corey, I made the point before the game today. I said, if we hold SC under 20 points, that would be an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
They're going to be at least in the 20s, and here they were at 26. They're very good. They can put up 30-something on just about anyone.
Yeah, so, yeah, the one thing I said earlier, maybe the one difference, Don, you tell me, is the one difference with this defense this year, they're not quite as good at linebacker. Is that kind of what the difference is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what it feels like to me. Now, they haven't gotten as much pressure from their front four, but I thought the front four played pretty well tonight. The front four has not been as dynamic as I thought it would be, but what I think is they're just not quite getting the production at linebacker that they were. Even last year, I know Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson put up ridiculous numbers, but I still think we maybe took for granted the Josie Jules, the Jack Campbells of the world that we experienced for, it felt like forever. And those guys buttoned up some issues when Iowa did have them. They're still really good. This is still a really good defense. And the numbers still say, I mean, heading into today, this defense was the 4th best total defense in the country, the 5th best pass defense in the country, and the 17th best rush defense in the country. Those are still excellent numbers. They just went up against the 2nd best offense in the country today.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad defense. I would not at all say that at all. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't feel that this is Phil Parker level defense, what we're seeing here. And
let's make a correction to Mike. Mike says when Lincoln Riley has better defense than Kirk Ferentz.
Oh God, come on, Mike.
Okay, I'm going to read you some numbers here. You should have watched my preview. Total defense, Iowa is ranked 4th in the country. USC's 48th. Pass defense, Iowa's 5th. USC's 51st. Rush defense, Iowa's 17th. USC is 60th. So I don't know where you're getting that take, but that defies logic.
Mike, there's no, just no, Mike, no. Just
and I like Mike. Mike's reminding everybody to hit the like button. I like you on that.
Yeah, hit the like button. He's right about that. But man, come on, no, Riley does not have better defense. Come on now.
I don't know where that comment came.
Now you're being dishonest. That's just dishonest.
Just ingenuous, right?
Yeah, but the other thing too, special teams. I'm still in shock by what happened last week.
They're not as good. Hey, they're not as good on special teams either. That to me, that's if you're going to look at a couple of things where they lack, they still are not great in the passing game. They need better receivers. They've got better receivers than they have had, but they still need to be better. Don, they're not quite as dynamic at linebacker. And special teams has not been as big of a strength as it has been in recent years. If it wasn't for Caden Weegan, if they had an average return guy, we'd be saying special teams is a big failure. And by the way, some kudos to Drew Stevens because I know he had his dips, but he's been really good. The numbers say he's been really good. How about Reese Dakin was average at best today? I think he was average at best. And I think he's been average at best all year, Don.
Maybe someday he can be Torrey Taylor, but he's not nearly there now.
Not even close right now.
Maybe what? I didn't hear what you said, Don. I'm sorry.
Maybe someday he can be Torrey Taylor.
Oh, one day, yeah. I mean, we went from like the best punter ever to like someone who's very good, probably, or at least good. So I mean, we're a bit spoiled in that category. But my main concern about special teams was the lawn snapper last week. That was like, oh my God!
Yeah.
I almost had a heart attack. I couldn't believe what I was seing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no.
That was craziness. And then the last thing I'll say, because I think I've already talked enough and probably people are tired of hearing me. Now, to pretend that NIL, and again, I still stand by what I said, that you don't have to be, it's your choice to donate or not. But what I don't understand is why we can't find some type of like our Mark Cuban. Like, because let's face it, Indiana, you want to know why they're as good as they are? Because they had the money to hire Cignetti. They have the money to get whoever the heck they want, and it's Mark Cuban money, okay? Because he's a graduate of Indiana. Like, why don't we have somebody who will help in that way? Like, average people like me, like I donate to the Swarm, but I don't have the thousands and millions to give. Not by a long, not at all.
Who is going to donate to the Swarm? I know the guy that owns the I-80 truck stop. I believe that's the Moon family, right, Don? They give a lot of money to Iowa, but there's not enough of those types of donors that can just fund massive amounts of NIL, initiative there. I
think the chat has some good suggestions. Kittle, Caitlin Clark, again. Yep.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark's a good one. That one down the line, maybe. But is Caitlin Clark going to invest a ton of money in Iowa football? I doubt it.
She has money up the wazoo, though.
She has
I
money.
had a discussion with a guy today. He made the observation, isn't it interesting that former athletes very seldom are known to give much money at all?
Because they didn't benefit from NIL, probably. But Caitlin did.
Well, Caitlin's she's an anomaly, so maybe she'll be someone that could end up giving tons of money to Iowa down the road.
Because look, like I said this in the chat before, we don't have the history right now because of what Brian did to our offense for 5 years or however many years it was, felt longer than that. So our reputation's kind of in the toilet as far as offense goes in a lot of ways. And the only way we're going to overcome that is by paying people to come in that regard, right? We're not going to prove it by just having serviceable wide receivers on the field. It's going to take more than that. It's going to take money.
Aaron Hodge wants to know, is post Kirk Ferentz, if the coach goes 8-4 the first 2 years, should they be fired?
Post Kirk Ferentz. Okay.
Standard going to change once Kirk Ferentz is no longer here because he has set the standard.
I mean, in general, I think they should have more than 2 years to improve something. But then again, I'm also kind of old school in that regard. I'm also against all these firings, and I'm against like how much the league has expanded, just like the other person was talking about during their call. So I'm kind of still a little traditional in my thinking, I guess, in that way.
You said you should get more than 2 years. Tim Lester's not even had 2 full years.
But I also haven't said we should fire Tim Lester.
No, but you were talking about, well, they haven't broken through and I'm tired of losing. Well, part of breaking through is they got to improve the offense, which they've done, and we've seen improvement, but it still needs to get better. That was my point.
Yeah, and I haven't said we should fire him tomorrow or anything.
Okay. You don't want to fire Kirk?
I would love to, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm no moron.
I didn't call you a moron.
No, I know, but like I know you didn't. I don't mean it like that. What I mean is like what I would like and what's going to happen are two different things. And I've kind of, as much as it frustrates me, it is what it is. I mean, I give my little piddly monthly donation to the Swarm, and that's all I can do, right? Like, I'm not going to drive 4 hours to Iowa City to go see games all the time. Actually, I prefer to watch them on TV because then you can actually see what's going on.
It's not a piddly donation. Everybody, that's why I'm saying, like, if you, whatever you're able to give, like I said, I'm not a Swarm member, but if you're buying tickets to a game, you're contributing. If you're buying Swarm beer, you're contributing. If you are giving to the iClub, you're contributing. So it's not a piddly donation. Every dollar counts. That's what fundraising is, right, Don?
Yeah, true.
That's what it is. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have that attitude, Erica, because it does make a difference. So,
well, thank you for that. But anyway, that was pretty much all I wanted to say. I think people are probably tired of me by now, so I'll stop for today. But thanks for having me on as always. And, I have to say I do like Tim Lester, to kind of defend myself a little bit. I just don't think we have the players to execute what he wants to fully do. I mean, Don is an offensive guy. Do you agree with that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I don't think we have. So Tim Lester, the type of offense he wants to run, I don't think we have the players to execute it fully.
Well, it always, you have more margin for error if you upgrade your talent. So it's safe to say it would be helpful if we had more superb athletes to turn short gators into long gators. More players like Oregon and Ohio State than them too.
Isn't it true like that when Tim Lester was head coach at Western Michigan that he was some type of wide receivers type guru? Like he got wide receivers to the league? He contributed to it?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking Sky Moore. We're talking Dwayne Eskridge. Yeah.
So that to me says that he, at least at some degree, is capable of running an offense and having players that are NFL prospects.
Again,
and
compare the offense now to what the offense was 2 years ago. It is night and day. It needs to get better, but it's already night and day. So
true, but we haven't arrived yet. And I still would like to see better players.
Say that again, Don.
We made improvement, but where are we right now in terms of national
Rankings-wise.
stats?
What
I'm
what
sorry?
what number? What do you want? What rankings?
Total offense, rush offense, pass offense. I just wonder how we were.
Well, total offense, they're still very, very low. But I can give you so in
That was going to be my point. We still have a lot of room for improvement. Let's not forget, we are blessed with what some people would suggest is the best O-line in the country.
yeah,
So if you look at it like that, our results are
40. They're
not-
top. They're 48 in the country in rush offense. Pass offense, they are
In the hundreds.
131st.
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
And
That's not acceptable. No.
no, it's got to be better. But remember, they were like 133, and they were like by far the worst. So like again, the whole everybody else was climbing out of a well. We were climbing out of a canyon. So there is a difference there. That's all I'm saying. And total offense right now, Iowa's 119 in total offense.
Yeah, my point is, the numbers are a lot better, but the mower was extremely low. That's my point.
Yeah, so I think part of this is that we don't have the players to execute what Tim wants to, and that's not fully on him completely either.
Hey,
it's partially on the money.
One final rip shot from Cyhawk C Money for you.
Of course, okay.
Erica. Maybe this wasn't directed to you, but he says 80% of the fans are fair weather fans, only with the team for the wins, but disown them on any losses. Quit on your team much?
Yeah, I quit with my donation to the Swarm, I guess. I don't know. But finally, somebody asked if I want a quarterback. I wouldn't mind it next year. If I want a quarterback, yeah. If we can get one who's worth the money, who will help us in some way, sure, why not? But I think we need receivers more. Because listen, here's why I say it too. Not only is our reputation bad with receivers, but also Tim said himself it was either when he first came to Iowa or shortly thereafter, his offense, he wants it to be 50% pass and 50% run. I don't think we're accomplishing that right now. And the reason why I don't think we are is because part of it is, Mark isn't the best at throwing the ball, but there are throws that he makes that are catchable throws that the receivers do not catch.
That's fair too. Yeah. They again, like Don said, there's room for improvement on both counts.
Yeah. And do I want an O-line? I don't think that's as necessary as quarterback or receiver. And to the person who said, get off the phone, why don't you call in? All right.
Thanks.
And on that, I will let you guys go. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Erica. All right. Good stuff. We have been trudging along here. We're in hour 3. And if people are new to the show, we do this every Saturday. So be sure you check out our broadcast, our podcast each and every week. And throughout the weeks now with Iowa men's and women's basketball back, we've got Coach Gary Close for men's basketball and former Hawkeye Kashin Alexander. Folks, shop RTI Threads and get your Aaron Graves shirt like I've got on right here, the Grave Digger. He got held several times. Calls that were not made today by the Zebras, Don. But you can make your selections, your purchases, get your gear, your gifts for your favorite Hawkeye friends and family members. Aaron Graves, Zach Lutmer, Jacob Gill, Carson Shire, all of those merch lines featured on rtithreads.com. Use the /NIL. Again, rtithreads.com/NIL. Also, big thank you to Iowa Smokehouse. We've been plugging them. You get your orders in now, folks, because this code is about to expire. Use that code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com for 15% off your order, whether it's their bacon meat sticks, their jerky, their steak bites, their salsas. Everything is delish. Use that code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. Order as much as you want. You spend $50. You'll get free shipping right to your doorstep. Don't go out in the cold. Order Iowa Smokehouse to your door at iowasmokehouse.com with that code Hawkeyes. Also, Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team, be sure you get a quote on insurance. Let Brad and his team save you great amounts of money. And they are Hawkeye fans, so even better reason to do your business with Brad. Totally free to get a quote. Call him at 515-256-6480. That's 515-256-6480. Or visit him online, www.bradvanmeter.com. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey. It's Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, I haven't called in a few weeks, but didn't. Full disclosure, some of the comments didn't get a chance to watch the entire game, start to finish. I was with family, but a couple comments that I wanted to make just regarding just officials in general. So I was not a football official, but I was an official in a different sport: Division I, Division II, Division III. Did Big Ten, Missouri Valley. And all officials at that level are assigned by conference and independent contractors, so not technically employed by that way. Assignments come from conference though at that level. So
real quick,
yes,
can I just say this?
Yep.
Doesn't that make them even more? What's the word? Doesn't that almost make their situation more precarious, because it's not like as independent contractors, they lose their contract, as contractors for the Big Ten Conference, they're just out. Like they're not getting unemployment from the league.
Correct.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really tough, and I am always partial to officials. I'm a diehard Hawkeye fan, always partial to officials though, I did that for 16 years, since I was basically 14 years old. So went all the way up, and yes, it is tough. Also, I will say the performance reviews at that level. I also know personally a couple of Division I football referees that referee the Big Ten, and have been referees on national championship games. So coming from a source, like I said, a lot of discussion around it. The review process is very extensive when it comes to the officiating side. And to your point, if performance is bad, you're done. It's not like, I'm going to go pick this up somewhere else. Also, every single league and conference do talk to each other. So there's a lot on the line. So yes, are there bad officials? Absolutely. Do we see them punished? Yes, absolutely. The problem is most of the times, none of us would even know who they are or that it happened.
But you can't understand the viewpoint that what's best for the league is best for the official.
Yes, I see that viewpoint. I would say if that was ever communicated openly to an official, then I would be shocked if that happened. But officials aren't dumb we're well aware of where people are in the conference.
It doesn't have to be communicated. Right.
So, I mean, look, the sport I was in, we knew going in who the best players were. You knew how should I phrase? I'm going to hopefully not out the officials, but you made sure that the best players hopefully were able to stay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
in that way, that stuff is absolutely discussed before the game, halftime as well. Hey, how are we doing? Are we making sure what needs to be called? But at the same time, let's make sure that the players decide that, even if it's the player on the team. So
yeah, and I made the
that's
comment. Maybe I heard the commentator wrong, but the commentator that made that comment that he agreed with picking up of the flag on that one call, and he said, well, there's just so much at stake. I got to go back and listen to that again, but what does that mean?
I did not hear that part. I did not hear that part. I would have absolutely no idea. Yeah. As far as football is concerned, picking up flags always bothers me, because the whole purpose in any sport, the sport I referee, there were 4 of us, 3 primary, 1 on the side. I'm giving too much away what sport it was, but anyway, that's how it was. We all 4 could communicate with each other in ways. And if someone made a call, unless it was absolutely egregious, that's never getting changed. And so football I struggle with because every referee is assigned to their specific section. Like I said, I didn't watch it, so I can't say where it was or what the call was. I don't even know.
Well, I know you're on the phone, so you can't see this, but I'm going to show it because, Don, we're talking.
Go ahead.
About
I have YouTube pulled up.
Okay, so the late hit. I just want to show people this is the late hit, and appreciate James for sending this to my my Twitter. So there's the late hit. Clearly a late hit, right? So I don't have an issue.
Hey, on YouTube's delayed for me by about 10 seconds. So
okay, well, Don, you can see this. So Caden Weegan runs toward the sideline, and he's clearly out of bounds. He's out of bounds right there, so he's out, right? I mean, there's 5 yards almost between that USC defender and Weegan. And my issue with it, I mean, that's clearly a late hit. Correct, Don?
The contact is late. Some officials might interpret that. See, he doesn't really say it this way. It's not malicious.
Okay, but okay.
You follow me?
hold on.
Some people would argue he's pulling off the contact.
That's not what he said, though. He said the official picked up the flag, and they announced to the stadium that after discussing with the other officials, the flag was picked up due to the fact that the hit was legal. That's what was stated. The hit was legal. So they're admitting that it was a hit. They're not saying it wasn't a hit that he was pulling up. They're admitting that it was a hit, but they're saying the hit was legal. The hit was not legal. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's see if I can let me see if I can get this back, and I want to see if I can get audio on this as well, Don. And hopefully you're able to hear exactly what I'm talking about with this official. So let me pull this back up and see if I can. Hopefully you're going to be able to hear this time, Don. And the contact was deemed legal. Okay, so he didn't use the word hit, but he said the contact was deemed legal.
What amazes me, that might be the shortest conversation between officials.
And said, "This is what I have, no flag." And the other official said, "Here's what I thought I saw." They look and say, "Oh, you thought no flag? Yeah, no flag." I'm guessing he said he was still in bounds when the hit came. I'm just telling you, that's exactly probably what was said.
No,
and they said, "Okay,
he
we're
was
going
not
with that."
he was not in bounds, and those are the
And it wasn't even close. No, I was able to see that. So
those
yes,
are the types
agreed,
of
but
plays that I wish could be reviewed. I wish that those types of penalties could be reviewed. Just like I think unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, like throwing a towel during the course of a play, throwing a towel towards a football that's midair, that ought to be able to be reviewed and say, no, that's unsportsmanlike. It's a 15-yard personal foul penalty.
I agree.
I think they'd have been half the distance to the goal, if I remember the play correctly.
Oh, yeah. In that case, it was a 2-point conversion. So
yes,
to the
correct.
goal. Yeah, but they would have gotten the play back. And by the way, they would have scored that.
Right.
They would have scored that 2-point play because it would have been a tush push.
Yes, you are completely correct on that. So, like I said, my point. Hopefully, I'm not trying to defend the official. Like I said, I did not watch the game. I would always say the perspective is very different from that side of the field, having been in those situations. So, and then I know one other rule you guys mentioned briefly was the out of bounds rule. The push, I did see the Weegan snapshot I saw his foot in. So, if one frame that his foot is in and on the ground, that's a catch. Especially last week, as we saw with the toe versus the heel, the difference there.
Yeah.
The rule is no contact by the defense is allowed before the ball is in the receiver's hands.
Right.
Otherwise, that'd be considered pass interference.
Right. That's just pass
if
interference.
the ball is in his hands, 100% legal contact is allowed. There's no claim.
Are you aware that has that been a rule at a
it has been enforced. It was changed. I want to say pre-COVID even.
Because it used to be at some level that if a guy was midair, you couldn't just force him out of bounds midair, correct?
Correct. It used to be that, yes, correct. The reason that was changed was to mirror the NFL rule.
Okay.
So, which obviously NFL is 2 feet in bounds. I'm actually surprised we haven't even gone to that at the college level. But that rule was changed to mirror the NFL, where, and then the invisible plane. I mean, good luck. Officials have a hard enough job. Good luck trying to freeze frame when the ball is caught. Would he have made it in bounds? And so yes, that's where the rule was changed, was to mirror the NFL there. And I want to say it was a little bit ago. I'm going to go at least 5 years. So don't quote me on that. I didn't Google it or look at it, but
good stuff. No, I appreciate that insight. And just so you're aware, since we have you on the line, caller, and you've got a little bit of a history with officiating. Here is the so this is here's one of the face mask penalties. This was the obvious one, and this was let's see, Chris Hassel shared this out.
Where I was able to turn the game on for about 15 minutes. The first play I saw was a Kamari Moulton run up the middle. I don't know if that's the one you're going to show.
Yes.
Where he got hit initially near the chest area, I believe, and then another defender reached around with the face mask and literally spun him all the way around.
So Don, here is one of those, probably the more egregious missed face mask penalties. And I'll let this thing slide.
So what's frustrating for me on this one is it's not like there was a pile up and it got pulled at the end, or he's fighting for yards and it gets tangled and pulled. This one's in the middle of the field. Typically, the referee and at least 2, if not 3 eyes on this play. So yeah, that was incredibly egregious, and there shouldn't be much blocking.
So that's another one, and I think
Especially the down judge. Down judge should have this call all the way. By the way,
let me see if we have one more here from. Let's see here. Okay, no, I guess that's the last one. There was, like I said, there was another one as well, maybe a little less egregious, but there's always missed calls.
Yeah.
I get it.
There are. Yep.
But boy, some of these were egregious, and sometimes just things smell bad. So
they do. No, I don't disagree with that either. And I remember the Penn State game that you're talking about. Yes. So where Kirk referenced that in the same way. So,
yep.
And if we got a couple minutes, the last thing I want to bring up, just switching more to the fan side in me as well, is looking back Kirk Ferentz's entire career. And I know fans probably aren't going to like this, but in their whole career, how many seasons in the current format would an Iowa Hawkeye team have made the CFP?
I think we've done this at least 3.
3 is what I can think of: 02, 09, and 15.
Well,
if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, in the current format, they would have made it in 21 and 23.
Would we? Well,
Yeah.
See, here's the issue: it's not top 12 because of the Group of 5 format.
No,
the
they
5
would.
highest.
I mean, you can go back, but I believe, definitely 2021. I think they were what 10-3. I could be wrong, but they would have been fringe in 2023. What were they, 10-2, and then ended up 10-3 that year as well? I get
the
those
10-2 year with. Are you talking about with the 22 was DeGene?
No,
that was
21 and 23
That was 23
were the 2.
Okay, so we're talking Petrus.
Petrus and Deacon.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Well, 3 for sure is the one I came to, at least. Like no question.
Yes. Yep.
02, I think we were 3 or 4.
And
Going
then
into
2019, they might have been fringe as well because they finished that.
We would have been fringe.
11.
But I think we went into that bowl game ranked 18th or 19th when we played
so they wouldn't have
USC
made
that
it,
year,
but,
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 15, we would have been a top. We probably would have got a bye. Would have lost Big
yeah.
Ten championship game to Michigan
12.
State.
Well, they almost made. Remember, they almost made it in spite of that Michigan State loss.
Correct.
Had things gone differently in that ACC championship game,
Yep.
There was an offsides penalty on a onside kick that hurt them. I can't remember if it was North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina Clemson in that title game, but they almost made it as one of the 4 in spite of that.
4.
loss.
Yep. Yeah. So my point to that was, with the current format, you've got your Bamas, your Georgias, your Ohio State. I'm going to throw Notre Dame in there just with the way conference, et cetera. Group of 5 as a guaranteed winner as well. You have 7 spots a year. Iowa is not built as a program with the 7 spots. And so people measure of success is what we have to go on. And I would say keep it as realistic as possible. Do we all want to win? Absolutely. In today's current climate, Iowa is not built to do that every single year, in my opinion. Whether it be NIL now, whether it be culture, Kirk's motto, philosophy, and that's the tough part too. You never know what year you're going to play. And so that's the thing. The part that I see that is awesome and fun as a Hawkeye fan is that we are, minus the last 4 years of the Brian Ferentz era, we were in almost every big game that we had. We had chances in every game. To your point that you've made multiple times, we are back to that level.
Yes.
Correct. We are 100% back to that level. There are little things every single year that add up. We could go down the list in college football with every team in the top 25 on that list as well. Those margins are so small. Don, I think you brought it up earlier. I would argue special teams is the margin this year. If we had Torrey Taylor as a punter, pinning teams inside the 10 and 5 consistently, it makes it a whole lot easier on your defense.
Well, no,
You
let's
can
not
sit
forget
back.
that you could argue the difference last week. I mean, the difference last week was a safety because of an errant snap. So.
Yep, exactly. And short field. I mean, we had the intercept, or no, it wasn't the interception. We 3 and out, but the the first snap as well was a terrible, and then it only ended up being like a 29-yard punt as well.
And they had a snapping
I think we
issue.
ended up
They had a
stopping
snapping
them.
issue against Indiana where they missed a kick from inside
Yep.
45 that would have given them a 3-point lead with like a minute.
With under 2 minutes to go. Yep, exactly. So I would say special teams, that is the difference, and it's not to the standard that Larwoods has had it up to or Iowa. And unfortunately, like I said, outside of your Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, that is the margin for most of those top mid 15 to 20 teams. So it is frustrating. Don't get me wrong. I want to be in the playoff just as bad, especially since I live in Florida. Probably would have had a chance to see. There's a good chance a game may have been down here. But
well, you might still get a game. You might still get a game down there.
Well, that's true. You're not wrong.
It might not be the one you wanted, but you might get to see Iowa down there after all.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So we'll see. We'll see there. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Like I said, if you ever have a referee question, I'll probably call back in. I love that side of the game. I tend to watch the game very differently just because I've been on.
I officiated some rec league. Does that count?
Hey, everyone's got to start somewhere.
Rec league basketball, and I got my life threatened, so I said it was.
So I'm not gonna, in all seriousness, I would argue in some cases that is tougher to officiate than higher levels. So.
Well, I was a bit of a quick trigger, so I had a guy. I remember one specific instance where I had a guy tried to go on full on Andrew Bynum on JJ Barea, like clothesline this little guy midair, and I just looked at him, I pointed him, and I just tossed him. And the guy kind of threatened me later, and I just thought this isn't worth it. I was making like $10 an hour doing city league stuff. So
I've had every level. I've had coaches threaten me. I've been escorted off by police. Those are the games we remember, unfortunately, and I've probably refereed a couple thousand games in my time, and only a handful or so of those incidents. You don't remember the other 2,000 games where everything went pretty well.
Yep.
So.
Well,
anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate you calling in, sir. Have a great night.
Bye.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Don. That was a good call. I am just looking for one more thing here before we move on. Let's see here. Okay. All right. I think I got that. DC Hawkeye. Notice how thank you for the super chat. Notice how Ben McCollum talks. It's all about figuring out ways to win. There are winners and there are those who don't for one reason or another. Thank you for that super chat. Very much appreciated. VMS. I don't know what this means. VMS. I hope it's not bigot. I don't know why you'd have bigot in your name. That doesn't make any sense, but maybe it's pronounced bigot or something like that. But anyways, VMS, we're going to call you. I'm ready for refs to be replaced with technology. Maybe AI can officiate games, Don. You think you knew I was going there? You knew I was going there. Oh, man.
You can't have a machine call a baseball game, and football's got no possibility.
Yes. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, Corey.
Lomansky.
Thanks for all your hard work and your many hours tonight.
Thank you for being here, sir, and for waiting on hold.
How long have I been a follower of your podcast? How would you categorize me?
Oh, you're a years long. You've been following the podcast since I think at least 22.
And the reason I bring that up, Corey, is that I have two Cyclone fans that poke me, and you would love the back and forth. And they're the two best friends in the world, but they're Cyclone fans.
Yeah.
And they don't feel sorry for me very often.
I have friends.
But today, before the game,
I have friends like that as well. I live in Ames, so I totally get it.
You're braver than I am. And earlier today, one of these Cyclone fans says, I tune in to Corey Brada once in a while because he's very good on perspective, and he's not a Hawkaholic. He does a good job in how you're supposed to be, and you need to hear stuff like that. And they're Cyclones, okay?
Well, I appreciate that.
Of all the years I've been listening to you, I think the best comment I ever heard you was tonight. And you said that the Iowa program is digging out of a hole. And when you said that, my mind instantly went to Don Patterson, talking about trying to recruit out of Texas. And they had two fellas, I think one had one side of Texas and Don had the other. at Hayden said, "Guys, we aren't making progress. We're going to pull out of Texas till we win some freaking ball games." Well, and I'm assuming some things here, but Hayden thought they have wins to pull people in, and you said we're digging ourselves out of a hole. And I'm more optimistic than I think most people in the chat tonight, because we are digging out of an offensive reputation that on Sirius XM radio, they played the limbo on full ride. Rick Neuheisel, for fun and entertainment, used to bring the limbo about the Iowa offense. Let's do the limbo for low scoring. And so you have Tim, still green at Iowa, but he has NFL experience. Kirk has NFL experience, you know, and I'm kind of optimistic about what could be. I mean, we got Gronowski, and the quarterback, Don says it all the time, the quarterback gets too much praise and too much criticism. Things don't go right.
Yep.
I'm very pleased with Gronowski. I know everybody's going to throw rocks because he's passing yardage. Okay.
Hey, Lemansky, he's not perfect.
Forward to you.
Did we lose Lemansky? We lost you there for a second, Lemansky. What'd you say?
My comeback to that is we're very lucky to have Gronowski under center.
Yeah, I agree. I like Mark. I'm disappointed he's not going to be here next year. Anybody that says otherwise, I don't know what you expect, because he's the best quarterback they've had since 2019, and it's not even close.
So Don, you could talk about what you had to overcome in recruiting, and I think the recruiting going forward has a much easier road than we've had in the past few years, because the Gronowskis came to Iowa. The running game has shown people that we can have a good rushing offense. The other thing I want to tell Don is this is a new era. Don did not coach with the Big Ten Western divisions. Don had to play Michigan, Ohio State, and his coaching cohorts, they had a much bigger hill to climb. We had the West Division to kind of insulate us. That's a big difference. So this new era of the new Big Ten, I think it's time for fans to kind of try to hold on to the optimistic side of what could be next year and the year after. I'd like the trajectory of the coaching staff and getting a good quarterback in here. And Don coached at Western Illinois. He just came from an event. There's a lot of good players on the lower level that maybe we got to do a better job of bringing up people like Gronowski and filling in our gaps. Don, you want to comment on that?
Well, there's a possibility we're finding FCS football. There's also a possibility we're finding out a little bit like our guy that went to Indiana. When he committed to Indiana, was that big news? I don't think so. Not on a national level, it wasn't. But I give that individual a lot of credit. He'll probably win the Heisman. But I'll give Indiana credit too, because they've done a good job with him. And he'd be the first to say he's been surrounded by guys that know how to win. It's a nice story to be able to tell. Indiana did more with their money than the average team. Here's one example. There are others. How about the receiver that burned us? He was an FCS receiver at one time, right?
Which one?
Surratt.
Oh, Surratt. Yeah.
He does big things against everybody he plays. My point is, the team that spends the most money is probably not going to get the best return. It's going to be somebody that spent less than that, but they got a lot of mileage out of the players they took.
Anything else, Lemansky?
Well, I'll end with this. I enjoy Erica and I enjoy Cyhawks D Money, and I guess I'd rather have a little debate tonight with a little flavor to it, but I'd rather have passionate Hawkeye fans than apathy. So I salute both those people on the program tonight. And Corey, thanks for all your work.
Thank you, Lemansky. Appreciate you being here. All right. We're trudging along here. We've had a bunch of calls tonight. I thought this would end a little early, but we are here. Appreciate you calling our Iowa Smokehouse line. It's Iowa Postgame with Coach John Patterson. Who's on the phone line? Hello, you're on the air.
This is Rick from Jackson, Michigan.
Hey, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You guys talking earlier about two egregious face masks. I had seen the one when it happened, and if I did went back and I was looking, I saw the other one. It wasn't so obvious. The one that was very obvious, they had a replay of it, and the guy, his arm went around the opposite shoulder, grabbed the face mask, and turned the head. And it was obvious, and I don't know what the officials were looking at that they didn't see it.
Yeah, we showed that play here a little bit ago,
Yeah.
and I don't know either because everybody, including the commentators, brought it up, and I think everybody, just about everybody in that stadium saw that, including the commentators, and I'm sure the coaching staff. How you have all these officials that don't see that, and as our caller that called in a little bit ago, who's an official, made the point, it wasn't like it was a pileup, and it was missed under a bunch of, other jerseys. So this was something that was pretty egregious. We agree.
And another point is, I get very upset with.
Did we lose you?
Yeah, no, I'm hearing the other voice coming in there, and I get really upset with people that even mention talking about replacing Kirk.
Okay.
He has built this year a
Are you hearing YouTube in the background? Do you have your
yeah,
radio? Or
I am hearing it.
Gotcha. Are you able to turn that down?
Well, I think I may be able to.
Okay.
How's that?
I don't hear it. You must hear it though. We don't hear it on our end.
Okay. Anyhow, the talk about Kirk. He has this year with Tim Lester, that offense is really good, and you're seeing it come into fruition in the last few games. And even mentioned it. I've been around following Iowa football since 1952, and the folks that call in, and I think probably I'm, if not the oldest, I got to be among probably the oldest of 2 or 3 people maybe that call in, and they didn't live through the 20 years of no winning season, and
True.
And
perspective is important, Don. You have some perspective
Right.
because you got to Iowa in '79 off a pretty rough stretch of Iowa football. Where was Iowa football when you and Hayden took over?
Well, 17 consecutive non-winning seasons.
Yep.
And we were able to make it to Pasadena in year 3. That's still one of the best turnarounds in the history of college football. We're proud of that.
Yeah, and if they had the perspective that I have of living through those 17 years, I'm going to hang up because it's too confusing.
All righty. Well, we appreciate you calling in, sir. I don't know what was going on there, Don. I wasn't trying to confuse him. I don't know if I think his device was just turned up and he was hearing things. All right. I don't see it. Last call on the phone line, folks. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. John says, I really enjoy this platform and community, though I don't donate to the Swarm. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. You are absolutely allowed to do that. And let's see here. Michael says, I think past of my frustration is when you look at like opponents with Oregon and Indiana, Iowa beat them the same or even worse. It's a good team that with less mistakes could have been great. Yeah. I think we We see the same thing, 100%. Few comments here in the chat to get to. Brent says, knew we were in trouble with Kirk's halftime interview. He says he could tell Kirk was taking the foot off the gas. He did talk about a little bit about the clock.
I saw somebody else make that comment too, Corey. And I was going to ask you, is that in fact what he said?
Now, you'll need to listen to it. He didn't exactly say he was taking his foot off the gas, but he did make a comment that sounded like he was going to be pretty concerned with the clock in the second half. And you don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear we're like they should have been. Maybe they were right, but you want to think that the plan is to score. We scored 21 in the first. Let's go score 30 in the second. But I don't know, Don. What are your thoughts? You go up 21-10. Is Kirk that in the second half? Do you think?
Well, I don't have any issue with you blowing the clock a little bit. You heard me talk about 4-minute offense, but you don't talk to the sideline reporter at the half about what you're going to do in the second half. And even if you do it, you got to be so deceptive in doing it that they don't even realize that you are. You follow me?
Yeah.
You don't break the huddle line up and then stand there and watch the clock go down. You break the huddle a little bit later than maybe what you could have. And now it's not so obvious that you're trying to bleed a few seconds with each and every play. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you do it well, they won't even realize you're doing it.
All right, let's go. Looks like our caller that was just on the phone line just hung up. So some of these comments in the chat. When you're 3.5 hours in, I guess you can expect a variety of comments. So Landon is here and he says, man, you're still doing calls. Yeah, this is what we do here. This is absolutely what we do. So let's see here. There's a lot of USC fans in the chat, which is fine. I have nothing. I really don't have any issues with USC fans. Megan Puffer, Don is a treat to have on. I agree. And
thank you, Megan.
Teal says Corey is not a Hawkaholic. John says I'm more down the middle. Yes, I try to be. Absolutely. Megan Puffer says Brazier's wife was my English teacher at City High. Texas legend. Bill Brazier.
She absolutely is.
You miss Bill, Don?
Absolutely. I miss Bill a lot. He was a very wise man.
Dude Bro says the defensive holding on Lee was killer. Hawks had a 14-0 lead, about to receive a punt. A lot of those plays. CJ says, I work at a convenience store. I see a Coke guy that delivers. I don't know what he's trying to say. Feels Coca-Cola every week. He called the Fran firing a few weeks before. He's saying the same thing on Kirk. I hope he's joking. We're not actually taking inside information from the Coca-Cola delivery man, are we?
Yeah, I wouldn't take that to the bank.
Brett Mormon, I was surprised and disappointed to not see more blitzing on USC to get him uncomfortable. He had so much time today. Thoughts on pressure overall? They tried to send one that was, Maava throws the ball up for grabs, and unfortunately, Jalen Watson's not playing the ball. He gets called for a crucial PI. Don, are you surprised they didn't blitz a little bit more?
I didn't see the game, so I don't know how much. Let's bring this up. There are ways to improve your pass rush without bringing 5 and 6 rushers. Or I should specifically say without bringing 6. There's a thing called zone blitz. Zone blitz might only involve 4 rushers, but it's not the usual suspects. It's not those 4 down guys. You drop off a defensive end or maybe even an interior D lineman, and you bring someone that's not supposed to come. The result of that, you have an offensive tackle, maybe their best pass protector, and he's got nobody to block. And at the same time, you're requiring somebody to pass protect and normally doesn't have to. That's a good way to bring pressure without compromising your coverage. So you see some of that. You also see, you've heard me talk about this. Maybe you're rushing 4, only 4. That's a standard pass rush. Rush 4, drop 7, right? but maybe you at least have some line games up front. That's good football. I don't know if we did that today or not. I would suspect we did, but I don't know that. I have to watch the game first.
All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Rick. I figured out what was going wrong. What he said at halftime to the sideline reporter was, we got to have that ground game going. The implication is if we control the ball and the less time they're on offense, he's recognizing that they can strike and they can strike quickly. And he says if we have that ground game going, we can. He didn't really say it. We can control the ball and keep them off the field as much as possible.
Yeah, he did make a comment like that. So, I mean, and he's right, Don? I mean, you do want to keep that offense off the field. They didn't do that. They did not do that. So
They didn't have to involve a bunch of run plays. Maybe it's simply more control passes too.
It came up as who the broadcast team was. It was a Rhett Lewis, Rhett Lewis, and Yogi Roth was the color man. And most of the time I sync up the Dolph and turn off the sound on there. But today I had the sound from the broadcast booth, and I finally got I just turned the broadcast people off because they were all but putting on short skirts and dancing around, jumping up and down on the sideline, in my opinion, the broadcast team. And in fact, I even wrote Dave Redson because I had his address for a long time. And I said, I hope you review that whole tape and take a look at and if you say, after you do that and you don't think that they were biased, then you're part of the problem too.
you said that today. When did you do that?
I texted or I sent an email to Revson. I was after I turned it off and listened to them, and I went back to the start, and then I got the names of the two guys. I knew that it was Yogi, and I didn't remember his last name, but it's Yogi Roth, and the actual play-by-play guy was Rhett Lewis, Lewis, and they were throughout the whole broadcast until I turned their sound off. They were biased. They were doing everything they could for the Iowa's opponent to just win the game.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Yogi did coach at one time at Southern Cal.
Ooh, okay. There you go.
Okay, well, that's my input, and I love the broadcast when Coach is on, and also with Kroul. I think that adding the perspective of people that knew and Kirk and the respect that former players have for him. He, as far as I'm concerned, as long as his health is good, I want to see him, because right now he can keep Lester and Parker as coordinators. They're going to be good. And I think they didn't get a commitment, it wasn't signed, of a 4-star quarterback not too long ago.
They flipped a kid who was committed to Boise.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
but
we'll see. They've had. I think real quick, Rick. Let me just say this: I'm not pooping on the parade.
Okay.
I'm not pooping off the float, but I want to just say something about the flip from Boise. I don't care about star rankings with quarterbacks. Did you know Carson May was at one time a 4-star quarterback? I think he's playing third string tight end at Abilene Christian or New Mexico Central right now. Marco Lainez, who I was a big fan of, he's at Elon.
Oh, yeah.
He's at Elon as a backup. He was at one time considered a 4-star prospect at quarterback. Joe Labus, who has been at Central Michigan.
Oh yeah,
all those guys. I don't care about
them all.
So hey, I'm just glad that Tim Lester is somebody that he likes.
I have a lot of respect for Lester and the fact that he's completely changed that quarterback room. And the offense last year, he was barely able to institute everything he wanted to because he was trying to figure out who could do what. And in the offseason, he's changed the quarterback room, and he's had a chance to work with people all the rest of the year. Got Mark to come in there, and I think he's I can't think of the name of the fellow that actually has been getting relief help, in there in several games, and I think he will have quarterbacks, and I think he will attract talent similar to what he did at Western Michigan, and that's my opinion. But somebody can differ with. But I agree with you. There've been a lot of highly rated that don't pan out, and but I got a lot of confidence in Tim, and I got obviously the confidence in Parker, and I have the utmost respect for Kirk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you calling in, sir, and always appreciate the perspective.
Keep up the good shows. I really like them.
Thanks, Rick. We appreciate it. Folks, we appreciate everybody for being here for the last 3.5 hours. Be sure you go over and watch Farms of America. And, of course, it's presented by Reagan and Massey, RM43 Serious Weed Control. And you'll be able to see how farms started, how they thrive today, what the future holds in the changing farm landscape. Stream it now over on Reagan and Massey's YouTube. It's in our description. Also, Iowa Smokehouse, get your orders in. Use that code Hawkeyes. Big Grove Brewery, check out their locations. Special announcement coming up involving Big Grove Brewery and another one of our sponsors, RTI Threads. Shop this guy, Aaron Graves, Zach Lutmer, Carson Shire, Jacob Gill, rtithreads.com/NIL. Get your insurance quotes from no one else other than Brad Van Meter and his Hawkeye team down at State Farm. And, of course, Iowa Floor Covering, Under the Kitchen. All of our great sponsors who are with us tonight and have been a part of our coverage all year. We're not done, but I just want to give one final shout-out to them. We're going to go quick fire on some of these comments, Don. John says, is Sam Phillips underused?
Well, I don't know what happened today. How was he targeted today?
I can pull his. Let me pull that up, Don.
I lost you, Corey.
I'll grab that, Don, and we'll come back to it. Rock 82. End of first half woes this season have cost us 3 games. Yeah, they gave up 3 points late. Sean Bach from our friend 247, our good guy Sean Bach over from 247. He brings up that catch. Looked like some green in between Weegen's foot and the sideline. Same thing we saw, Sean. Tyler, what did the assistant do? No idea. Kirk said postgame, apparently he said that the assistant crossed the line, the physical sideline. But, I mean, I see coaches do that all the time. But Charles Pinster, Fitzgerald hates Iowa. Why would we bring him here? Well, he fits the culture, and his son plays at Iowa, as a quarterback at Iowa. Ron, seems like we have a strength and conditioning issue. We got worn down on both the D-line and O-line in the second half. Never been quite the same since Doyle left. What do you think? Don, I'll throw this one to you. Is that an issue?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I do know a lot of the guys that were coached when Chris was here gave him a lot of credit for their development. That's true.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure that we're subpar in that area now compared to when Chris was here. I'm not sure. Hard to know.
Okay, I do have the official box score, and Sam Phillips was targeted. Is that right? He was targeted 0 times, Don.
That sounds like he's underutilized. That's true.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I'm guessing that Tim would say, got to get him the ball more, I would guess. Benjamin says he's right. It's not about skill matchups, but our running backs are a problem. They're not very good. I don't agree with that. I think they got good backs. I think Kamari Moulton's been really good for them. But Hank says half the teams lose every week. Yes, that's true. John says another question from an outsider. Why doesn't Kirk Ferentz utilize Iowa's kick return specialist Washington's speed more on offense like gadget plays? How about Terrell Washington? His touches have really gone by the wayside since he struggled with his carries back in September, Don.
Right.
Any thoughts on why he's not getting more touches other than those early season struggles?
All I can say is the practice tape is really scrutinized. So if you're not making an impression on the coaches during the week, you're certainly not going to see much time on the weekend.
Gary Watson says, thanks for the therapy session. So thank you for being here, Gary. OS for Hawks. Vandersey played quarterback over at West Lyon. So nice throw at the college level today. Go Hawks, says Corey. Did Indiana get a lot of football transfers, or is Signetti really good with roster that has similar talent to Iowa? He got transfers. He brought a lot of his guys over from James Madison, but he's been opportunistic. So you got to give him credit for that. But I'm not an Indiana expert either. I'm not combed through their portal haul over the last 2 years. Andrew, are opponents' wide receivers too fast for Iowa's DBs, Don? I don't think that's...
Well, you'd like to match up well enough where you can contest underneath throws and still never get beat over the top. But we're talking about all conference corners that play at that level. And it's hard to be all conference. I mean, if you're all conference, you would think you would project for the NFL. And you can be a good college player and not project for the NFL. So there's room for improvement. And yet it's, those guys are highly recruited too. So development counts for a lot, but you need to have hot feet to begin with. Otherwise, you're going to be hard-pressed to be able to cover.
Scott says, what progress, Corey? Well, I'm not going to walk through all the results, but you go compare results versus top 25 teams this year, scores versus 21 after the Penn State game, 22, 23, and even 24. You go compare and tell me that there hasn't been progress made. Teal says, was Gronowski recruited for his arm or legs? What if Kirk had found some more dual threat quarterbacks over the past decade? Well, his legs have been a huge asset, although I thought he probably could have ran a little bit more today. We'll see. Don, I want to get your take on that once you watch the tape back. Bino says, why did some of our skill players start the game with no gloves, then they wore gloves in the second half? I'm assuming just because of the rainy conditions, Don?
To be honest with you, I hardly ever noticed any receivers that play without gloves.
Sam Phillips didn't wear gloves last week against Oregon either. He was the one guy that I noticed did not have gloves on. And at least one USC receiver that made a big catch today did not have gloves on. So it just depends on if it's raining at the time, if they feel comfortable with them.
Yeah.
T. Hink says, I don't think we should spend a dime on a quarterback. Okay. Trojan Dale says, great show. Wish we had a show like you guys. Thank you, Trojan Dale. That's a good comment from the opposition. So thank you for being here, Dale. Andy says, Sam was targeted. USC got him called for, USC got called for a PI, but that's not an official target of the box score. But yes, they did technically try to go to him. Michelle says she bought some Iowa Smokehouse meat sticks today. Love the meat sticks. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much for doing that. If you bought stuff from our sponsors, throw it up in the chat. We'll give you a shout out. We appreciate that. Matthew says, Don, aren't you glad social media wasn't around when you were at Iowa?
It wouldn't bother me if they were, because we'd never have time to be listening anyway.
Destiny Pirate says, Coach Ferentz said he hoped they could hold on to the ball in the second half. So, Megan Puffer, I thought Pat Fitzgerald hated Iowa because of his injury as a player, would rather have Brett Bielema. I don't think Pat Fitzgerald hates Iowa. We ran into Pat Fitzgerald at the Kids Day practice here a few months ago. His kid plays for Iowa, so he's got a lot of respect for Iowa. Cyhawk C-Money, Don, would you have Mark run more in this game? And again, you got to watch it back. But
yeah, I don't know how many carries he had. Was he effective with the runs he did have?
He had a third down where he got stuffed, which is rare. But in general, I would say he was effective when he ran, but he only ran 8 times for 32 yards. So it just, 8 times sounds like a lot. I don't know how many sacks.
What was a long game? Something less than 10, I'm sure.
Didn't take any sacks. His long was a 19-yarder.
Okay, well, he had one effective play, and the rest were not.
Right.
It's 7 for 13 on the others.
All right, let's go back to our final caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson. Who's on the line?
Hey, Rick, this is Rick again. And one point that I'd like to bring up, early in the broadcast, the Rhett Lewis and Yogi Roth made the point that Iowa had not been called for a holding penalty all year. And lo and behold, Dunkard got called for holding. I know of once and maybe twice. And you don't think the opposing coaches, when they're having their conversations with officials, or kind of plant that seed in the mind of officials and start looking for things? I think it happens a lot.
Yeah, it's that was an interesting stat. And Don, Iowa was first, and they are first in the country in fewest penalties. They averaged 2.2 penalties per game. USC averaged 6.3 heading into this game.
Let me just make this comment. I'd be willing to bet you we've been flagged for holding, but let's not forget they might decline the penalty too.
But
so it's really unfair to say.
But I'm just going to say this right now, Don. I'm just bringing it up. Iowa averaged 2.2 penalties per game heading into tonight. USC averaged 6.3. Iowa finished the day having been called for 6 penalties versus USC's 3. Those numbers don't jive.
Well, you would think if one team was routinely penalized twice or almost 3 times as often, hard to imagine they flip roles in one game against each other. You're right.
Rick, thanks for calling back in, sir.
Okay. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. I like Amanda says, Rick is a triple threat. Good stuff. All right, Erica wants a bedtime story. Thanks for the super chat. You got something for us, Don, to comfort all the bereaved souls out there?
Erica, I'm sorry, my brain's fried. I've lost 2 games today, not 1.
Yeah, and you also drove. How far is it from Macomb back to Iowa City? It's at least
It's
4
about 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's not quite as bad as I thought. Okay. We'll get you next time, David. We'll get that bedtime story in next time. The Hawkeyes falling to USC, 26-21. USC finishes the game on a 26-7 spurt. Football team falls to 6-4. They get Michigan State next week, Nebraska and Lincoln on Black Friday, and then they'll have a bowl game. And then we'll move on. We'll figure out the next recruiting class, and we'll move on. The season goes by quickly, and boy, it's been pain. That's the one way to describe this year, Don, for me. Pain.
Let me mention something, Corey, that I mentioned to Western's coach. And I hope he brought it up to their team, but it applies equally to Iowa. I simply made this observation. If you go back and look, teams that had a great season, if you go back and look at the previous November, that gives you a good indication of what the next year is going to be. My point is you need to finish the year with momentum. And you need to have a great out of season, because that'll really get you started on the right path for the next season. So I do think it's important for us to win out, and ideally win the bowl game too, of course. Finish the year with a lot of momentum. That's a message I'm sure that the coaches will pass along to their players. So we need to find a way to get that done. And it all starts, we only get to play Michigan State this week. Let's not worry about Nebraska and try to focus on the Spartans.
The Iowa women will be focusing on the Northern Iowa Panthers tomorrow up at McLeod Center in Waterloo, Cedar Falls area. So we'll have post-game coverage with Kasheen Alexander after that game. And the men will be back on the court Tuesday versus Southeast Missouri. They're 3-0. We'll have coverage after that as well. And Iowa defeating Missouri earlier today at the national duels. They'll face off against Okie State tomorrow. We'll have coverage there too. So just keep it locked right here, folks. Amanda, thank you for being here. All of our premium subscribers, we appreciate you being here. Don, thanks for making the trek back to Iowa City and for hopping on here with us. And we'll keep doing this. Better days are ahead. It's been a tough 4 losses to swallow.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, for Coach Don Patterson, I'm Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Try not to watch the highlights of the game. We'll talk to you tomorrow.